I understood that as being okay when you get the pre-consent signature. I mean, it's the signature.
Signature should override everything.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but
we're live.
Sorry.
Oh my God, sorry. We weren't just talking about pre-death
on a death certificate.
Yeah, on the death. Yeah. Well, welcome, guys. Welcome. This is the Katie Halper Show, and if it's a Wednesday night, I'm joined by Nando Villa. Hello, Nando.
How's it going?
Good, you?
Doing well.
We have a great lineup for you guys. We are speaking to Ollie Vargas, a journalist based in Bolivia, who's going to be talking about the Bolivian elections. And then later on in the show, we're going to be speaking to Joshua Kahn Russell, who is joining us right now just to say hello.
Hi, everybody.
Flash the guns.
Just a quick tease. I was just working out and I'm sweaty. No big deal.
NBD. Yeah. So
it's like really Anchorman. I don't know if you heard me. I did over 1,000.
Which character says that? Ron Burgundy?
Ron Burgundy. Yeah.
Anyway, well, self-care is an important part of what you talk about, Josh. So when you come back on, do people call you Joshua or Josh?
It depends at what stage of life they've known me, but these days I prefer Joshua.
All right, Joshua. That's like me when I Katie.
Whatever
Catherine in third grade. I preferred Catherine, but then everyone it's in stick. All right. Well, Joshua, we should let you go so that you can shower and get ready.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Okay. See you guys.
Take it easy, brother.
Have a good first half of the show.
We'll try to without you. We'll try. All right. That was Joshua, everyone. All right.
Yes.
Nando, how's it going? What's going on? Tell me what's happening in the world. Oh, wait. Sorry. Wait, everyone. Right now, share and subscribe. Like this video. Share and subscribe. Oh, tell Jimmy to tell me to come. I didn't know we were competing. I always try to do it afterwards. Yeah, these are cool earrings, right? But share and subscribe, guys, because only you can make this, I don't know, insert the pitch. Apparently those things are good to do. All right. So, Nando, welcome back.
Thank you.
Tell us what's happening in the world.
Giuliani got caught with his hand in his pants. He got by Sacha Baron Cohen.
Oh, great.
Which is just great. I mean, I don't know. Did you watch his show on Showtime, This Is America?
No, I really need to. I heard it.
You should, because Sacha Baron Cohen really has perfected understanding how to get to these right-wing ghouls. He tried to get Bernie on the Showtime show and it didn't work, But with the right-wing ghouls, he understands perfectly to create a character that would appeal to their ego. So in the show, he got to Dick Cheney by pretending to be an Israeli military general.
I think I saw a little bit of this, right, where he's placed in Israeli. Yeah. He's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and he gets Dick Cheney to autograph a waterboarding bottle.
That's so great. Oh my God, he's so great.
Yeah, and in this one he got Giuliani. So we've had two horny dudes this week. We got Tubin early in the week, but that's old news now.
Old news, yeah.
Today's horny guy is Giuliani. So,
yeah. Who apparently, I guess, an actress playing Borat's daughter.
Yeah.
Was interviewing him, and
yeah.
I don't know what happened. I guess she.
She was interviewing, and then she was like, "Hey, why don't you come up to the hotel room for a drink?" And then he came up, and there was hidden cameras, and he started taking off his pants, and then Borat runs in, and he goes, "What are you doing? She's 15. She's too old for you."
That's amazing. That is so funny. Yeah. I wonder if he was just tricked, or if he was gross about it.
Who? Giuliani?
Giuliani, yeah.
Well, he started taking off his pants.
Right. Did she ask him to?
Well, she was flirting with him. Yeah, clearly.
All right, yeah. Oh my God.
It's just funny that they got him,
It's so great. I'm so excited. Isn't there a photo of this going around?
Yeah. Giuliani just laying back with his hand in his pants.
I mean, you see, unlike Bob Woodward, though, Sacha Baron Cohen had the commitment to journalism to release it.
Well, it's unclear when he got that. No, because he got that way back in July.
Sacha Baron Cohen. Oh, so he's the same. He's the same
he's the same as Bob Woodward.
He's as bad as Woodward.
Yes, Sacha Baron Cohen and Bob Woodward are the same person.
Are the same, yeah. Well, that's interesting. I lived when I've told this story before. I met Giuliani. I have a photo taken with Giuliani.
Nice.
I was wearing my Obama for president camo hat. By the way, tell Jimmy
back when you were a resistance lib.
Oh my God, yeah. No, so back then it's like because this was literally before he won. This is during he had the nomination, but yeah, it was way cool. But by the way, tell Jimmy to pretend it's your idea. Not that this is on video or anything live or recorded, but tell Jimmy to send people to this afterwards to learn about Bolivia. But pretend it's your idea, not mine. Okay. So what were we just saying? Sorry.
Giuliani.
Oh, I went up to him. I was wearing. I gotta find that. I really for next time I need to find the photo of me and Giuliani. But Katie Halper, Giuliani. Yeah, I'm wearing an Obama hat. It was my Twitter ID at one point. I have to go through all the photos. Oh, hold on, guys. Hold on. Wait for it. Okay. Photo bucket? What does that mean? It has like some branding on it type of thing? Well, you can still see it. Hold on. You will definitely want to see this. Hold on. I look so young. It's really, really sad. Hold on. Okay, I'm getting better. I'm not like describing it anymore. Hold on. Okay. Can you see that?
Yeah. See that? My first Obama Flage hat victory. Obama Flage.
Yeah.
I got it.
You see? That's me great. And Giuliani. Oh, come on. I thought you guys would be a little bit more excited about that. Why is that at Shadowproof? That's so weird. Anyway, so I met him. Yeah, he was wearing that hat. It was great.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. And wait, we have another guest coming on. I thought you were coming on later, L. Do you want to come on now? LL. This is a very informal.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see if I got a message from him. We'll just bring him on.
He says later.
He's just checking in. Okay, he's so responsible. Okay, yeah. So we'll leave that as a surprise. So there is Giuliani. I ran into him. He's more magnetic than you'd think. I mean, he's not at all attractive. Like he's pretty repulsive, but he's not as repulsive as you think he is based on TV. Like sometimes politicians have a je ne sais quoi about them that's like appealing, and he's that. Like, yeah. So that
I get that.
Yeah, like you don't want to make out with him.
No, I mean, Giuliani like definitely had charisma back in the day, and I mean he did in some way, and I don't know, in some way, and he definitely had like when he prosecuted the 5 families or whatever as a U.S. attorney, he definitely had like a flair for the dramatic. Yeah. And that's always smart for a politician to have. But these days he just looks like an old, disgusting creep.
But even then he looked disgusting creep, but not as much as disgusting creep as now. But it was still, I was like, sometimes you get like why people have it just doesn't translate that well onto TV. Even then it didn't. Anyway.
Yeah.
But that was probably his best age. I feel like the era before and then after were like especially hideous. Anyway, we shouldn't focus on people's looks, but it's not a looks thing. It's their soul revealing itself. It's their soul inside out.
Exactly.
But
that's why you and I are so beautiful, Katie.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, guys, don't start talking about Nando's looks again. It's very exploitative. And if you're gonna bring it up, you obviously have to talk about me too. That's the problem. Brad Bloom
me too.
Brad Bloom writes, Rudy treats his teeth like the people, pristine on top, dumpster fire on the bottom. It's a pretty good call. Okay, so that happened. Then we also had the Tubin thing, but that is old news, as you said. And anything that you want to talk about? Anything else, Nando, in the news?
Well, I mean, I just think the other thing that's kind of been funny this week is that there's been 2 stories that have come out in the past day or two. One was this big GQ piece by Julia Yaffe saying where she like basically interviews a CIA agent who claims that the Russians used microwave rays to like fry his brain or something. I don't know if you saw that, but it's like it's a continuation of the story that we've been hearing for a while of like the Cuban diplomats, like the diplomats in the Cuban embassy that say like, that they're being attacked by some weird noise and stuff like that. It's
right.
It's all very hard to believe. But then just now, there was a story that dropped where the Trump administration is claiming that Iran is behind a certain set of emails like political misinformation emails, you know, kind of like what the Dems accused Russia of doing in 2016 of like, you know, now Trump is accusing Iran of that. And it's just like, it's just become a thing, you know?
Oh, it's because they're all right. Because they're also preparing to impose sanctions on anyone who does business with them. So they're probably trying to ratchet things up. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone asked if I'm pregnant, and it's like, are you calling me fat?
Yeah, what is that? I don't even get it. It must be something else. It must be some joke. Like, are you pregnant because you've been blah 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 blah? Is your dad a thief because he stole the stars and put them in your eyes? Sparky points out Gina Haspel embarrasses CIA, fails in Bolivia. Yep, that sounds like Trump fails, embarrasses
very
CIA.
terrible. Gina Haspel tried to do the coup in Bolivia, couldn't even do it.
Oh my God, it is so funny how there's an entire movement of people who impersonate not Trump but Anthony. All right, anyone want to
did you see that guy was good? The new guy that just come out, the redhead who did like the Scooby-Doo one and the Weird Al Trump impression. You didn't see it? Oh, it was really good. I'll send it to you. It's really good.
Glowing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, well, I'm sorry, Brad. You're right. I know talking about people's looks, but once I told them that the rule was that they had to say nice things about me, they got confused. Anyway, so what about what's that thing? Quibi?
Quibi. It's so funny that you don't know what Quibi is, because like it's just so Quibi was this thing launched by a guy named Jeffrey Katzenberg and Meg Whitman. You know, remember Meg Whitman? She used to be
probably coming to a Biden administration near you.
Yes, mostly because she was the CEO of Quibi, which is maybe the most spectacular and high-profile failure in Hollywood history. They raised something like $2.8 billion, like over $2 billion, for a short-form premium video app. So it's like an app that you subscribe to, and it's only short-form videos that you watch on your phone, but they're like expensive and like well-produced, like as opposed to like YouTube or, you know, Instagram Live or whatever. And they signed like all these like very high profile deals with like very high profile actors and directors and things like that to do like short form video and all that stuff. And it came out earlier this year, and it was just like an epic disaster. Like nobody downloaded it. I think like it only had something like 400,000 subscribers, and they thought they were going to get like 8 million in the first quarter. Anyway, it just shut down today after being in operation basically less than 6 months, and blowing through $2 billion of cash. So, yeah.
Did they produce anything good about it? I mean, good through it? Was anything in quality?
No, a lot of the ideas reminded me of like of like fake 30 Rock shows within shows. You know, It was like one of them was like a reality show about Nicole Richie's quest to become a professional rapper. And like one of them was a nature show voiced by Reese Witherspoon, where she would only talk about like the females. It was like a yacht queen.
It was It was she played
like nature.
Yeah, but it was like they were cheetahs or lions. They were in the African savannah or something. I saw.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So there's that. Anything else? Hunter Biden. We talked about Hunter Biden already. We talked about it.
Yeah, Hunter Biden, you know, it's Russian disinformation.
It's
totally those 100% real pictures that I saw, in which he actually looks cool. Like I would lean into
them, but yeah,
you haven't seen them.
Jack, Jack Allison. He said this first. He said, to win my vote, not everyone's, but to win my vote personally, Biden has to have more Hunter lean in.
Oh yeah. Hunter is like the coolest Democrat by far. I mean, you know, he has like a drug problem, but he's trying to like work through it.
Right.
You know, he fucks. You know, as the kids say, like, you know, Hunter Biden fucks. You know, like that's great. Yeah, he has a paternity lawsuit with a stripper.
Right. Why didn't he just, but the saddest thing about it, and this is kind of getting buried, is like he said, like, you have to run for me.
Yeah.
Like he said that to his dad. Like, I'm such a fuck up. I can't be the reason you don't run. You have to run. What if this whole thing was an act? Oh my God. What if this whole thing was an act and he just wants Joe to be president so he can get even more perks, get even more deals. Like it's not enough to make $85,000 a month working for Burisma.
No. Oh, he's gonna milk the presidency. He's gonna get like a job as like the president of Alibaba in China or something. Get paid like $10 million while also like having complete meltdown in Shanghai and like, becoming like an opium addict or something. Yeah, it's going to be great.
But what if this whole thing were an act or something? Like he really wanted to make his dad feel bad. I'm just saying. I'm just very skeptical right now. I haven't thought of this before, but maybe there's some of that in him telling. And then he's like, he was nice to him, Biden. Anyway, we've talked about this a lot. It's become a kind of Katie Halper show segment, the Hunter Gate. But Hunter Watch, yeah. But the really funny thing is people just losing their minds about it, as if like this wasn't going to come up anyway, and as if giving your son a job like that isn't. I
mean, it's 100% corrupt. It always has been. I mean, like the Democrats and the liberals who were like, there is nothing to see here, were like gaslighting everyone, to use it.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Because it's like it's flagrantly obvious and corrupt. Like you don't even have to look into it. Just the facts like on the surface level are corrupt. Like where this guy Hunter, who's like a nobody, who's not anything in his fucking life, all of a sudden gets on the board of a Ukrainian energy company while his dad's vice president. Like, come on. Like there's no way he's getting that job otherwise. So therefore it's corrupt. I mean, it used to be liberals before Citizens United and like during the debate around Citizens United, the whole debate around Citizens United was that whether the appearance of corruption was enough or whether you needed like a literal piece of paper that said, I am doing this in exchange for, $100,000. Like that was the conservative argument, that if you did not have evidence of a quid pro quo, like literal evidence of a quid pro quo, then it wasn't corruption. Whereas the liberal case against Citizens United was that the mere appearance of like a flagrant corruption like that was enough. Like, that if someone gave you a bunch of money for your campaign and then you went ahead and like deregulated their business, that's corruption. It doesn't matter if there was like agreed upon beforehand or not,
Right.
So yeah, they've abandoned that argument since, I mean, the Hillary Wall Street speeches was like an example of it. And then also the Hunter job in Burisma, but whatever, Hunter's still cool. We're still Team Hunter.
Yeah.
They're just defending him for the wrong.
Yeah. I didn't even know.
They're just defending him for the wrong reasons.
Right. Do you know that that's exactly what we said? We said we were Team Hunter. I mean, this is a Team Hunter show, but I didn't even tell Nando that. It's just because I'm very
Night of the Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Garden No makes a really good point. If his dad becomes POTUS, Hunter's lifestyle will get much worse. 24/7 monitoring by media equals no more strippers and coke. So maybe you're right. Maybe he's being selfless when he tells his dad to run. Right.
Yeah, he's sacrificing, his stripper parties. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think that the Chapo idea of a debate between Hunter Biden and Donald Trump Jr. would be the thing to do. My money would be on Hunter. Actually, but Jack had already suggested on this show that he wanted to do a hangover movie with Duncan, Hunter Biden, Duncan Hunter, Donald Trump Jr. and what's his name? Jerry Falwell Jr.
So Jerry Falwell Jr. Yeah.
Actually, I made a pretty ridiculous GIF of it. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's on one of my videos. Yeah, where I just put their faces into it.
Nice.
So yeah, Bolivia. We're going to be talking about Bolivia with the next guest. You have to run off soon, Nando. But yes. I want to just give you a chance. Anything else that we want to talk about?
Just
Trump has been acting like way crazier than usual. Like,
yeah.
Also, Joe Biden bets Republicans for cabinet positions, won't disclose name of major fundraisers. So Biden's Bidening.
It's amazing.
Some people on the list are Meg Whitman, John Kasich, Jeff Flake. Also, like, Kasich is really, really, really bad. Like, really anti-healthcare,
union,
anti-choice, anti-union. He's just awful.
Yeah, he's awful.
He really sucks.
I mean, the Republicans, there's like... as we obviously hate the Dems so much, but like literally every single Republican is bad, like really bad.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like even like the nice ones are bad. So.
Yeah. But this one's like, he's just because he's like kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's not. I mean, there are some Republicans, I guess. Yeah. Who's the best Republican, do you think? I mean, he's not the best, but there's sometimes when they're really good on some issues, like Rand Paul, but he's awful. But when he's good, he's really good.
Yeah, I guess.
But he's bad. He's terrible.
Yeah.
Are there any good moderates, like somewhat moderates, or no? They all left the party.
They all suck.
Yeah. Basically, Trump has become the thing that a lot of people, I think, said he was earlier on, but now he is. Like, it was a little hyperbolic before.
Yeah.
Just coming full circle with how insane he is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, he's hilarious though. But
he's very funny. Yeah.
He's very evil.
Yeah.
I mean, the story that came out this week about him like asking for a malt in the middle of the intelligence briefing is one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he was in his like hotel in Atlantic City getting or his golf resort or something in Atlantic City, and he's getting a intelligence briefing by like some CIA ghoul on Afghanistan, and in the middle of the guy's like spiel about like, well, we're the Taliban or blah blah blah, there's this like Trump's like, does anybody want a malt? Because I really want a malted milkshake. We have the best malts here, and he like ordered like a waiter to come in and give him malts. Like it's just the funniest thing ever.
Wait, like a milkshake?
Yeah, a malted milkshake.
What's malted exactly?
So, like a Whop, like those little candies, like the Whoppers.
Yeah.
Chocolate covered. Yeah. They're chocolate covered malt balls. Well, like a malted milkshake is a milkshake with like malt in it. It has like a slightly different taste from a regular milkshake.
I don't like malt. Do you like malt?
I love malts, but I haven't had one in forever. I used to get them at Johnny Rockets when I was a kid. I would get a cookies and cream malt.
Yeah. I never liked malts, yeah. Anyway. I think I found the one thing I disagree with Trump on. No, I'm just kidding. So keep going. He just
I got to run, but because I got to go to this counted things thing. Yeah. But too many Zooms, too little time. But yeah.
Oh, perfect timing because our next guest is on. But
perfect.
Yeah. Do you guys you have to run, right? I was going to introduce you so you could have a little Spanish Bolivian thing, but I'll do that.
Well, if you bring him on.
All right,
bring him on
right now. Okay. Yeah. All right, Ollie, I'll give you your longer intro in a second. But Ollie Vargas, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Here in La Paz, a jubilant mood, certainly.
Yes. Well, we're going to, Nando has to go, but I just wanted to give you guys a chance that I want to invite, I saw this tweet, you tweeted out, Ollie, that there is a Spanish journalist who is working, I guess, in Bolivia, who explained that, pues vamos a ver, es que la gente, he was calling all Bolivian people like
Katie's Spanish accent is so perfect. Like her Spain Spanish accent is so good. People don't realize.
Yeah, they don't realize.
Pues claro.
Hostia, es que tienen la mente. Okay, so I wanted to invite him on to talk to all of us in Castellano because he complained that these people es que no hablan castellano, hablan quechua. It was ridiculous. Anyway, so we should do that another time. I'll invite him on. Anyway, thank you, Nando.
I gotta run, guys.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
Later.
All right. Well, we can play that later. So Ollie, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
No, thanks for having me. It's so good that there's media attention on this issue at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think that people are very excited about this. I have so many questions to ask you, and including stuff I'd love to get to Elon Musk at some point. But tell us what's been happening lately. You've been attacked, right? You were physically attacked. Can you just set the scene in terms of how Bolivia got to the moment it's gotten to?
Well,
sorry, not like starting with like colonialism, but I guess starting with yeah, exactly, yeah. Let's just read the open veins of Latin America.
I can try.
Right now. But no, starting with I guess Morales, Evo Morales' ascent.
Yeah, I mean, the movement towards socialism is the party that Evo Morales built, and is an organization that grew out of the struggle in the Tropic of Cochabamba. That's where I live. Actually, not where I am right now, but where I live is known as the Chapare region, against the U.S. military presence there. The DEA, USAID had a number of bases there, and out of that struggle, led by Evo Morales and a number of incredible women leaders who, played leading roles in the last government. And they sort of, through that process, they decided that, we as indigenous communities, as workers, we shouldn't be constantly on the defensive. We shouldn't just be complaining about this or that human rights abuse or this land has been, I don't know, taken or contaminated, and isn't this sad? And we should do something about this XYZ issue. But actually, we should move beyond that, form an organization capable of taking power, and not as a party that will go and represent us, of good people with good politics, but actually ourselves, a political instrument for our movement to govern the country for ourselves. That's the only way the situation, there can be a solution to this situation. Otherwise, you're constantly, with the sort of NGO model of, making complaints about X, Y, or Z issue. So they grew out of that struggle. Then they went to the rest of the country, proposed the same. Other sort of indigenous groups, workers' unions around the country affiliated to it. And that's what the mass is today, is a coalition of these social movements, of these indigenous groups. And I've said before that the mass is not a political party in the way you or I might understand in the US or the UK. It's not a party that you go, you log on and sort of put your bank details.
Sorry, I was playing my YouTube by accident. Okay, sorry, keep going.
But it's not a party you join as an individual. It's actually impossible to join as an individual. You can only join it through being part of a social movement. And that's the strength of the party, is that it exists as, not an agglomeration of individuals, but as a coalition of a number of different movements that have a physical presence in every single region of the country.
So are you a member of it?
Well, technically, no, in a sense. As an individual, I'm not. I'm not a member of any particular union. I mean, I work for Radio Kausachun Koka, which is actually the station that's owned by the 6 federations of the Tropic of Cochabamba, which is the unions there. It's the unions that Evo Morales led, and he's still the president of, so he's technically the president of the radio. So I'm attached to the movements in that sense, but as an actual political actor, absolutely not, because I'm not part of these movements. I'm not. Yeah.
Okay, but you're a member of so you're saying it's not like here where they're Democrats and Republicans and you register, right? Is it so what are the parties in right now? Because there's the Christo-fascist one, which is not its official name, right? But there's MAS, and then there's like a more moderate opposition, and then there's the Christo-fascist one. So if you vote, for instance, you just vote for whomever you want. You, Ollie.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You want. Mm-hmm. Okay. But you mean, when you say it's not like, do you mean like the leadership has to be attached to a social movement, or do you mean rank and file people?
Well, essentially, there's no formal membership. There's no list of people who are in the party. If you are part of a union that is affiliated to the party, you are part of the party. Even if you don't support the party, but through your collective affiliation, you are considered part of the organization, and you'll be asked by your union, by your social movement, to participate in the party activities, to be at rallies, to organize rallies, to mobilize in protests during this past year. And so it's a collective thing. It's not an agglomeration of individuals. It's a collective force that exists at the grassroots level right across the country.
And so Evo Morales is elected, and there's a lot of progress, right, in terms of poverty rates. But he obviously makes a lot of enemies. And then there are these accusations of corruption. So can you walk us through that? Because obviously, as I'm sure you're all too well aware, the media narrative from the Western media was very skewed about there being a case for his, dismissal.
Yeah, well, I mean, if anything, the Western media coverage has almost been a bit better than the Bolivian media coverage. In Bolivia, every single private media outlet that exists is aggressively anti-Evo Morales. But while he was in government, there was a couple of state media outlets that presented the government point of view. Those have, of course, now disappeared. So there's been an incredible media war. And in fact, it was only through the media war that the coup happened in the first place. Because before the coup, the only reason that the military was able to intervene was because there was a situation of chaos in the country. Right-wing protests in all the big cities, well, not all, most of the big cities, completely destabilized the country, created violence and chaos. Military steps in. But why were people protesting? The objective reasons for people to protest, around the world didn't exist in Bolivia. Bolivia was the fastest growing economy in South America. People weren't going hungry. There wasn't any inflation. Bolivia had actually the lowest inflation in the region, hovering at about 2% per year. These weren't bread riots. These weren't all of the normal reasons that people would come out into the streets weren't there. So why would people come out? Because there'd been a relentless media war portraying the government as this like awful Castro Chavista sort of narco state. And there's things that didn't exist in reality. So a lot of the accusations, a lot of the reasons these right-wing protest movements would give, like, oh, Bolivia has become a narco state. Actually, the reverse is true. Since the DEA was expelled from Bolivia in the Tropic of Cochabamba, the production of the coca leaf went down because the new anti-drug strategy of the government was to work with the unions, the coca growers unions, and sort of through a wider economic development, people were no longer dependent on growing just coca. Now, if you go to the Tropic of Cochabamba, it's wonderful. It's where I've lived for most of this past year. You have the most amazing fruits, fish. People have sort of pools on their sort of small pieces of land where they have 1,000 fish. That's a huge source of income. But before that didn't exist, the state couldn't afford to fund this kind of alternative development because there's a neoliberal state dependent on the IMF, on debt. And so people turned to just growing coca as the only thing that they could earn a living with. And the response of the US government to that was just to repress them, to take away their livelihoods, destroy their crops, jail, torture anyone who spoke out against that. And all of that just served to increase production of coca because people became more poor. Where did people turn? To these sorts of activities. Through the economic development under Evo Morales, thanks to the nationalization of natural resources and strategic industries, they were able to fund that. Because if you're in a government like Bolivia, it's a global south, third world government, where does the government get money? It can't get it from taxes because the vast majority of the population don't pay any taxes at all. They work in the informal economy.
Right.
The rich people in Latin America, first of all, are not even that rich compared to rich people in the US or Europe. And they, very easily take their money to Miami or wherever, Panama more recently. So how does the government get money to fund anything? They can only do it through taking control of natural resources, and not just resources, but big industries. Bolivia, telecommunications, airports, a number of manufacturing industries are nationalized as well. Run them efficiently, take the profits, and use that money to fund development in your country. And that's what Bolivia did, and that's why Bolivia was so successful. Even the IMF, the Financial Times, the BBC would talk about the economic miracle in Bolivia. And there's no magic formulas to that. It's just the formula that I've laid out. But of course, that whole model is a threat to the United States. If everyone starts doing that, then they're in big trouble.
Right. The domino theory, right?
Exactly.
That Eisenhower warned us about. And so what were you there during? You were there during the coup, right?
I was not. No.
Oh, you weren't there.
I was working at Telesur in Ecuador, actually. My colleague, many of you may have heard of her, Camila Escalante. Yeah. She actually came to Bolivia during the coup, while the coup was taking place. And she was the one that encouraged me to come just after. I arrived like 2 weeks after the coup. Yeah.
And where are you from, by the way? Because you have that thick Bolivian accent. Just kidding.
No, I have a dual nationality. My mum is from the UK, and my dad's Bolivian from the north of Potosi, historic mining area.
Right.
And I've both nationalities. It's a fun mix.
And you grew up in where you grew up?
Well, actually, I lived here in La Paz till I was 5, and then we went to the UK, and I've lived there for most of our life since then. Yeah, I don't remember a great deal from when I was 5, but
Right.
what I do know is that, like most Bolivian children, I got a number of diseases, and through surviving that, we've got a great immune system now. So we've never been ill since.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So then when did you go back to from England to Latin America?
Well, I've been in and out for various periods. When I was 18, I came for 6 months. I worked at a magazine, an English language magazine about Bolivian culture. It's called Bolivian Express. It's a great project, still going. And then I came back sort of as a sort of exchange. So I did a semester at a university here in La Paz. That was quite an experience. They certainly work a lot harder than British students. They had 3-hour lessons. The classes would start at 7 a.m. That's certainly not what I was used to at British University.
Right.
But yeah, that's fun. And now I'm back working here.
Yeah. And so when and now you're based in La Paz.
No, I live in the Tropic of Cochabamba in the Chapada region, which is a rural area. But at the moment, for this sort of election coverage, I'm here in La Paz. Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right. So what and were you around? How shortly after the coup did you go to Bolivia?
2 weeks. It was 2 weeks after the coup. Yeah.
And so what was it like then?
Well, I mean, before then, I assumed that I would never come to Bolivia when the coup happened. I saw the sort of the levels of persecution, the massacres, the threats I was receiving, even when I was outside the country. Even some of my own family members were sending me some pretty brutal things, telling me, "Oh, come here, and then we'll teach you to learn respect for blah blah blah." Even former friends I had in the past sending me sort of threats, even violent threats on Facebook. And I assumed that I would never come to Bolivia, that it's too dangerous while this current government was in power. But it was actually, it was Camilo Escalante who convinced me to come. And, I haven't looked back since, and hope to make a life here.
And so what was it like when you got there? I mean, what kind of violence did you observe, or persecution did you experience or observe? Because I don't think people have a sense of what it was like.
It was
people. I think here. I mean, not people watching the show, but I think in the larger American audience thinks like, oh, there was a corrupt guy, a left-wing dictator, and then they kicked him out, and then there was a non-socialist in power who happens to carry on.
It was an extraordinary time. And actually, the 14 years that Evo Morales, Bolivia throughout its history for 100 years has been one of the most unstable places in the Americas. He's had, I think, the most presidents of anywhere in the Americas because of the number of coups, revolutions, just like general chaos throughout history. I mean, there's presidents that have been in power for like a few weeks, before being ousted in a coup or in a revolution or something. But the 14 years of Evo Morales' government was, first of all, was the longest period with a single government. No part of Bolivian history had there been one government for more than about 10 years. Evo Morales achieved that extraordinary social stability, but all that just kind of disappeared in a few weeks when the coup happened. I mean, people's houses, like prominent leftists, their houses were getting burnt down. People being attacked in the street for wearing blue clothes. Blue is the color of the mass, the party. They get assaulted. People who are indigenous in any way will get assaulted. Just assume that they're a mass supporter just because of their race or cultural sort of clothes. That was the atmosphere. And sort of the first 10 days of the coup were the worst. That's when the 2 massacres happened. When people came out to protest to bring Evo Morales back in Sacaba, in Cochabamba, and here in Sencatos, El Alto, sort of La Paz. Overall, during that period, like 34 people were killed by the state while going out to protest. That was the atmosphere. I arrived just after these sort of peace accords had been signed between the social movements and the state. But so I wasn't there during the period of this sort of mass outbreak of violence. What I was here for was the second phase of repression, which was the sort of political persecution. So what happened after the massacres was they targeted union leaders, sort of prominent leftists. They were sort of given charges for things like sedition. I'd actually never heard of the word sedition before I came here, but
wow.
Sedition for not recognizing the authority of the state. That's a criminal offense. People were charged with that. For terrorism, I mean, for things like organizing a rally, that's considered terrorism. And so the people I was interviewing at the time, the people that had these criminal charges hanging over them, some of them had arrest warrants. And the day I arrived, I met up with a number of friends that I had here who ran a left-wing radio show, and which was taken off air after the coup. And then a week later, after I saw them when I arrived, arrest warrants were put out for them. They said that their radio show was a form of terrorism and that they said seditious things. They were inciting people to sedition, even though the radio show actually went off air like before the coup, like just as the coup was happening. So the radio show was never on air while the new government was in power. They said that they committed retroactive sort of sedition, terrorism. Those friends had to flee to Argentina, go on foot, so had to sort of be smuggled to the border and then sort of run across a river, get there unofficially. They are given refugee status in Argentina, and they're still there, obviously. Some of them were even, other charges were put on them. One of them was accused of burning a bus. They're just trying to throw everything at them. And that was the sort of atmosphere that I came in. Then that only got worse throughout the course of the year. So in the Tropic of Cochabamba, all of the leaders have numerous charges. Some of the people I consider my friends now, who are now been elected senators, such as Andrónico Rodriguez, who's like a big sort of young charismatic leader, Leonardo Losa, both of them now senators for Cochabamba. Each of them have more than, I think Andrónico has 17 or 18 criminal charges against him right now. One of them is for sedition because he called Áñez a coup president. And that was sedition, and he faces criminal charges for that. But, throughout all of that, now he's a senator, though. He's elected by the people.
And what happened to that mayor? There was that awful footage of that mayor who had her hair cut off, was, doused in red paint. What happened to her? Where is she now?
Well, she's probably the person who's been through the most during this past year. As you said, she's a mayor of a small town called Vinto, just outside Cochabamba. She was kidnapped, tortured during the coup. She was made to walk over broken glass. She was told that they were leading her to her death. And they were asking her to resign, but she refused to resign. And she survived, and after that became a sort of figure of bravery, of figure for women all across the country. But it didn't end there. She was rescued from her captors, but then after the coup government took power, she was then persecuted in a massive way, probably more than any of the other leaders in the region. I interviewed her during the campaign, and she said she had 17 criminal charges hanging over her. Again, all the same things: sedition, terrorism. At one point, they even broke into a home and arrested her entire family, even her children, held them in a cell for a few days. And that one was, they accused her of drinking alcohol during lockdown, which is actually not even a crime. But then they were released a few days later, luckily. But that's how her life has been through this past year, just constant persecution. And now she's also an elected senator. She's an elected senator for the Department of Cochabamba. She'll take her seat as probably one of the most prominent figures of the MAS. And yeah, I was speaking actually to someone here who's good friends with her. And the night of the victory, he said that, straight away he phoned her and she couldn't even speak. She was just crying. She was saying, for the first time this year, I'm gonna go to bed, and be able to sleep.
That's so crazy. That's so, yeah. I've shown this before. I had Ben Norton on before, but I just want to show people in case they missed this image of the woman. It's like so incredibly disturbing. But can you guys see it? There she is. She's being like dragged.
Yeah,
she's being forced to whoops, stupid ad, sorry. I hate this about the internet. Yeah, kill me, not afraid to tell my truth. Anti-government protesters in Bolivia drag woman mayor to streets. So yeah, this is one image.
Yeah.
Where they
cut all her hair as well.
Yeah, that was like the scariest part. I showed this last time, but you can see this tweet. Yeah. And they were all masked. It's just like, it's so disturbing. And that that was, I think, probably the most effective disturbing image that was widely circulated.
Yeah. Here. And it shows a lot of Western media outlets sort of portrayed that whole period as, the people kind of rose up against Evo Morales. Well, what people? Those are the people they're referring to. That's their culture, their way of doing politics. And who are those people? They're not the majority of the country, as we now know, obviously. But at the time, there's people protesting. Where were they protesting? In the city centers of the big cities. Whiter, middle, upper class people. Those were the only people. Those are the only section of society that are allowed to be people. And then when the majority of the indigenous groups, working class areas of the cities came out to protest in favor of Evo Morales, they were just said, the hordes, terrorists, delinquents, whatever.
Right. Yeah, and also what happens is that people meet real live Bolivians in the United States, and they're like, well, my Bolivian friend says that Evo Morales is a narco, stealing everyone's land, corrupt, whatever. And they really like it. It's part of white racism, where it's this assumption of, racism or ignorance. It's an assumption. It's like a flattening of all non-white Americans. So it's like, oh, this person's Bolivian. It's like, well, there are rich Bolivians and poor Bolivians, and Bolivians who are whiter and Bolivians who are more indigenous. And it is interesting.
If you ask, say, a Bolivian, someone who's gone to study in the US, that's a Bolivian who has a lot of money to do that.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're in Argentina, for example, there's 2 million Bolivian migrants in Argentina. Almost all of them went there during the 80s and 90s because of the economic collapse after the introduction of neoliberalism. They're overwhelmingly working class people who are discriminated against in Argentina. And the recent election just a few days ago showed that 88% of the people there voted for the MAS. So if you speak to a Bolivian in Argentina, they'll tell you something very different. If you speak to maybe a richer Bolivian who's on an exchange program in Stanford or something, then they're going to tell you something else.
Right. That's right. Exactly. That's like the really important part, right? Which is that people don't realize the selection that goes into, not selection like natural selection, but there's a self-selecting process by which someone is even here for the most part. I'm generalizing, but obviously the majority of the people who are here have more means.
Definitely.
But it gives it totally skewed. If you don't understand that, your view of it is totally skewed.
Yeah. I remember they did this during when Juan Guaido sort of declared himself president of Venezuela. Yeah. There was a big campaign on social media, ask a Venezuelan, hashtag ask a Venezuelan. But which Venezuelans?
Yeah.
Like the ones who speak English, the ones, the ones in the barrios, who do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, did you, what was your expectation going into this election?
Truthfully, my expectation was that by now, I wouldn't be speaking to you in a normal capacity, that we'd be in the midst of a tremendous social conflict at this stage that could even reach the levels of a civil war, because there's a huge anxiety that there'd be sort of electoral fraud. They're trying to rig the vote. I think if the victory was very small by about 1-2%, I think they probably would have tried to commit some sort of electoral fraud. But I think you can't really, it's difficult to do that with a margin of 30%,
Right.
Very, very difficult to do that. And I think the fact that the victory needed to be this overwhelming. Evo Morales won last year by 10%, but in Bolivia sort of electoral law, you can win with less than 50% if you have more than 10%. and he won with like 10.3 or 4 or 5 or something percent. So it's very, very close. So people who lost, just felt that it was their opportunity to come out and destabilize the country. But with this, I mean, what can you say when you've lost by 30%? There's still some groups. Actually, just today we went out and filmed some right-wing protest.
Yeah, I want to show some of those. Yeah,
a protest against the results, against like the vote of the majority of people. But it was tiny. It was maybe 50 people compared to the like mass middle-class protests that were there last year. It was a damp squib, I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at some of your videos. Is there one in particular that you think is the best to look at?
I mean, on my personal Twitter, I posted 2 videos just a couple of hours ago of these kind of crazy chants that they had as well. All of them like homophobic for some reason.
Yeah. Let me do this.
But yeah, it's just it was a cry of desperation. But hopefully it doesn't grow into something more.
Right. And then I'm going to ask you about Arce. Is it Arce or Arce?
Arce, Luis Arce.
Arce. Okay, yeah. So here's one, right? Is this a good one to watch? Oops. Sorry about that. Can you guys see?
Yeah.
And can you hear? Let's see. Hold on. I can't hear. That's lovely.
Yeah.
And
the second one is a bit more. Yeah, the second one was a bit more. It was the homophobic one. Yeah.
What are they? I hear maricón, but what else are they saying?
Yeah. So yeah, at the start they say if you don't jump, you're a mass supporter or a gay, or a faggot.
Right.
And then Junco is a specific Bolivian word just to mean like, an arse licker, a boot licker sort of thing. They assume that like if you support the mass, you're doing it out of some sort of interest, not because you have like an actual conviction. Whereas actually, it's completely the other way around. Like why? Like there's no reason to support the mass this past year if you've been persecuted and jailed. There's no greater sign of conviction,
Right. And what happened to? Did you posted something that happened to you, right? Did you post that?
Yeah, on election day. I was attacked. Not in any sort of serious way, but it was part of the sort of general right-wing voter intimidation. I was going to film the president of the Senate. Oh, that's it, Patricia Arce.
Is she related to the other Arce?
No.
No, okay.
No, Arce is just like so common. There's like a million people called Arce.
This is so okay, guys. Remember that woman we just saw with the red hair? This is crazy. This is her now. Wow.
De cosas que según ellos yo he cometido actos irregulares, pero ninguno de ellos me han podido probar y sé que no lo van a poder. Es más, uno por atentado a la salud, siendo ellos que han atentado contra la salud mía y la de mis hijos, entrándose sin barbijos, entrándose a mi casa, a mi domicilio, a mi dormitorio, sacando a mi familia, encesándonos en un lugar que había mucha gente que estaba sin barbijo. Ellos han cometido esos actos. Es más, a mí me echan la culpa, pero bueno, nosotros vamos a seguir adelante porque creemos en la población. Sabemos muy bien que la gente está tomando conciencia y bueno, no es difícil ver que en estos 14 años hemos vivido toda la gente podía salir derecho de hablar, pero ahora en este momento vemos que no podemos salir a la calle porque somos agredidos, no podemos nosotros expresar lo que sentimos porque bueno, ahí está la policía también, pedir a la policía que sea imparcial. La policía tiene que cuidar a la población, no se debe a un partido político y bueno, el ejército lo propio, ¿no?
Wow.
Muchísimas gracias.
Oh, wow. That's you. Oh, I didn't realize that was you interviewing her.
Yeah, it was.
Cool. Should we watch this Spanish guy?
Oh yeah.
This is the guy that I wanted to invite on.
He explains why the mass won.
Okay, he explains why. You got to make this with subtitles so people can enjoy it. Should we want to tell them what you can say it while we play it, right?
Yeah, I can try.
De política, de economía, etcétera, ¿no? ¿Crees que gran parte de este resultado se explica por este factor?
Bueno, vamos a ver. Yo creo que sí, o sea, eso no me cabe absolutamente ninguna duda, porque el votante medio del movimiento al socialismo es un votante con un nivel intelectual nulo, o sea, prácticamente inexistente.
The average mass voter has zero intellectual capacity.
No, o sea, no tienen prácticamente nivel, ¿no? Y claro, hay que recordar a la gente...
They have no education.
El votante medio del partido...
Average vote of the mass.
El votante medio que tiene aquí Podemos, ¿no? Porque aquí, quieras que no, todo el mundo...
So it's not like Podemos in Spain, who are like university educated.
Right. The leftist party in Spain, right? And he's going to explain why they're not like that.
Because, these people in Bolivia, they don't know what the internet is. They've never seen a phone.
No sabe lo que es un teléfono móvil, no sabe lo que es internet y mentalmente no tiene absolutamente ni idea de prácticamente nada. O sea, son analfabetos. O sea, es gente...
They have no idea.
Like, they have no capacity to think.
Right.
They can't even think.
And then they're literally illiterate.
Yeah.
And then, right, can't read and write. And
as you say,
there are people who don't know how to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite.
It just shows the level of...
O idiomas nativos indígenas y no tienen ni idea de lo que es la civilización, ¿no? Y por lo tanto ellos...
They have no idea
what civilization is.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
That's how they think, and it's also just wrong on so many counts, apart from being so racist and prejudiced.
Yeah.
Actually, thanks to the economic development under Evo Morales, internet and phone access has now been extended across the entire country. It exists everywhere. Where before it would only exist in the circles of the big cities. The second issue of like illiteracy was eliminated under Evo Morales' government. To be a country free of illiteracy, I think you just have to be like more sort of over 95% literate. I believe we achieved that under Evo Morales' government. So he had no idea about the country that he's talking about, but he felt, the right to come here and be an activist for the state for like most of this year.
Right. This is so exciting. Here you are talking to the new president, right? Let's see.
Yeah. Alex actually speaks English. I've got some videos of him speaking English.
Gran parte de la conciencia del pueblo boliviano. Se ha recuperado el ajayo, se ha recuperado la mística del proceso y la gente disciplinadamente ha hecho posible esto de recuperar nuevamente el proceso de cambio para todos nosotros, ¿no? Es un gran agradecimiento para el pueblo boliviano.
Look how uncivilized he is.
¿Cómo se ha logrado esta victoria del pueblo? ¿A qué se debe?
It's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he speaks fluent English. He studied economics at Warwick University in the UK, and I've interviewed him. Well, I have like a long interview, like 20 minutes, all in English. Not many people, I think, even know that he speaks English in Bolivia.
Yeah.
And then my colleague Camila Escalante as well interviewed him in English. And it's actually funny. I interviewed him a second time just for like 2 minutes, just like a sort of soundbite in him speaking English, and we posted it on the. And it like the video went viral, but like all the people sharing it were Bolivians who like don't speak English. They was just like, wow, look, he speaks English.
Yeah.
They didn't know what was being said, but they were just like impressed.
Wow. And what is this? You tweet here, you write, this is what Bolivians were doing in early August. The regime wasn't defeated by voting alone. People have been fighting against the coup for a whole year. And what is this image, this footage?
So in early August, there was a general strike in Bolivia because the government kept postponing the elections. And in fact, the only reason there was elections a few days ago was because of this sort of protest movement, this general strike in early August. And it got to such a degree that in some communities, people were actually getting armed. And the situation was getting to the point of almost a civil war. But then the regime sort of conceded, agreed to like hold elections a few days ago, and yeah, that's like the process through which Bolivia, is where it's at today. Without that movement, we probably wouldn't have had elections at all.
Right. Let's see. This is let's see. These are this is far-right extremist groups meet by the Christ the Redeemer statue in Santa Cruz to decide what steps to take. Many don't want to accept the election results. What are they saying?
Anulación. They want the elections to be annulled.
Yeah, to be annulled. Yeah. Oh, so I was thought there'd be some like Christo-fascist stuff going on here, but I guess not. Maybe another image. Yeah. Do you? Let's see. A lot of people have questions for you, understandably. Let's see. Can we ask you some questions? I mean, I have like so many more.
Of course, yeah.
Part one of like a 1,000-part interview. Because I want to know about Arce and also about what's going to happen to Evo. So Sparky writes, at one time, weren't Europeans required to marry indigenous people in Bolivia? Otherwise, they were unable to reproduce because of the altitude?
I'm not aware of that. And I don't think so either, because there's lots of people here in La Paz, the sorts of people who are protesting Evo Morales, who boast about their sort of direct lineage to the Spaniards. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Plus, if people are
pure lineage Spaniards.
Right.
Sort of uncontaminated.
And who was that Spanish twerp, by the way, whose video we played before?
He's a journalist called Alejandro Entrampasaguas, who works for a magazine called OK Diario, which is run by a party called Vox, which is like
Spain,
neo-fascist or neo-Francoist party in Spain.
But it's funny. It's like he's actually like kind of low-key praising Podemos. I mean, he's not praising them. He's like, let me explain. These people are not like Podemos.
Well, yeah, because the whole sort of attacks on the left in, say, Europe and like North America, there's often, people on the right saying, oh, they're just a bunch of like college-educated liberals, blah, blah.
Right.
So that's like different to Bolivia, where, the left is just like a bunch of savages.
Right. Right. They have to tweak their argument.
Yeah. It doesn't fit.
Yeah. Someone asked where her mask was, the senator's mask.
Oh,
we were interviewing her.
No, I mean it was a private event. Most people weren't wearing masks. I just came in off the street, so I was still wearing mine.
So I just want to read some questions. And then let's see. Well, Lee Levin says, "I love Maltans; they're the best." Jules C says, "Could Morales have any role in the current government?" Red Pill says, "The left arm yourself if fascists don't step down." 11-2. Well, they're not going to step down 11-2. It's going to be 11-3. Right. That's the date. What else? Lumpia Logic, thank you for your super sticker. Kate Savola, thank you for your super sticker. And then Nancy Ventura, does Ollie think that this government will hold? What tricks will be deposed? What tricks will the deposed government try to pull? Will they be prosecuted? So
I mean, they haven't got a lot of options left when the victory is so overwhelming. But I think they will try and cause a number of problems through some of these the right-wing protests that we saw videos of earlier, trying to cause chaos. Something they've already done is take out a huge IMF loan, like the week before the elections. It was over $300 million. That leaves Arce with a load of debt that he's going to have to pay off. That's something that handicaps the next government. Tries to an attempt to lock in the kind of neoliberal approach they've had this past year. So yeah, they've got a number of tricks up their sleeves, but it's going to be difficult for them to completely annul this victory without sort of launching a second coup, which of course is a possibility, but again is much more difficult to do this year than last year because of how overwhelming the victory is.
Right. Well, I thought it would be cool to, if everyone's into it, I have two more guests, and I think that there would be some really interesting conversations, especially because of what they're doing. Do you have some more time for me to? Do you want to mix it up a little bit? One of them is, well, I don't know how much time you have. I should ask you that first.
Yeah, I'm happy. I can't say too much longer.
Okay.
But yeah, a short sort of exchange would be fun.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna bring in two guests. Unless, let's see, I'm trying to see if one wants. Yeah, we'll bring in two guests. All right, I'm gonna go full. I'm gonna do this thing. So very quickly. Well, no, actually one guest. We're gonna bring in one guest. So we're gonna bring in one guest. Joshua Kahn Russell, because I think this is a really interesting moment. And Josh is working on a project which is helping organize people to basically stop the election from being stolen. Josh, thank you so much for joining the show.
So glad to be here.
I thought you guys would have really interesting dialogue. So I thought you may have some questions for Ollie, because this is something that's like, people I think will be looking, one of the things people will be looking towards. The coup wasn't stopped, I guess, in Bolivia, but it was reversed. So.
Just the coup government tried to steal the election a number of times, but like the main tactic they used was sort of hyping up fear of coronavirus to say, oh, how can we possibly have an election if there's like coronavirus going on? Deliberately didn't do anything to tackle the virus. Obviously bodies in the streets, people get more and more scared. And that was like a tactic they used to try and push elections away indefinitely. So I think people got to be, wary of that. And obviously coronavirus is a very serious issue. It's a very serious illness. Have to take care of yourself. But it's not a reason to suspend all public life. It's not a reason to suspend, democracy in a country. And I think like over, keeping people locked at home, just sort of trembling with fear, is not a good thing for people who want to, have free and fair elections.
One through line, Ollie, I'm curious if, and I missed some of the part of the interview, so excuse me if you already talked about this, but curious if there's lessons from the ways that in Bolivia they tried to discredit the election to give the predicate for overturning it.
Well, no, I mean, what they did was scare tactics. They said, oh, well, the mass and their terrorists, are going to plunge the country into conflict if we have elections. If they lose the elections, there's going to be a huge conflict, trying to sort of build public fear about that. Essentially making people fear the very idea of elections, like everything will go wrong. Everyone will get coronavirus, like there'll be massive social conflicts afterwards. So, that was just fear.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell us a little bit about, are there any lessons that you think that the United States can, they're not really parallel, but are there any takeaways from this that you think apply to what is happening here?
Well, I think in early August, as we were mentioning, there was a massive general strike, protest movements to demand elections, which was won. But there was some sort of more radical elements of that movement that were saying, oh, we can just overthrow the government. And actually the mass and Evo Morales personally intervened to say, no, we can win peacefully, we can win through the vote, and we have to try everything we can to do that. Obviously if there's reached a point where there is no democratic path there's no peaceful path, to democracy, then obviously we'll have to take more radical measures. But while the option is still there, we should take it. But without the movement, there wouldn't have been elections. So the mass as a party was founded on the principle of combining social struggle with electoral struggle, with electoral participation. And they've always said that one without the other is the path to defeat. If you're just a party that focuses on electoralism without building any kind of social organization on the ground, social movements, then, well, you're a party that could disappear if you persecute a few of your leaders. A party that could disappear once you become a bit unpopular in a few years' time. But likewise, if you're a party that just focuses on sort of on social struggle without electoral participation, then you may go the way of some of the guerrilla movements, maybe in Latin America, that have been locked into sort of decades-long civil wars. So the mass has always been about marrying the two: social struggle, electoral struggle. One without the other, you'll lose.
And can you just quickly, before you leave, and Joshua, if you have more questions, obviously, feel free to try to ask them, but I'm going to beat you to that with mine first. Can you just tell people a little bit about Arce, his plans, and also what's going to happen with Evo?
Yeah, Luis Arce is an economist. I think more people on the left should be economists. Is a good like skill to have, is good sort of expertise to have. And Arce was the economy minister under Evo Morales, and he built the model of nationalizing strategic industries, nationalizing the leading industries of the economy, using those profits to invest in development, infrastructure, social services. And that was a model that was incredibly successful. Bolivia was the fastest growing economy in the region. So he'll be looking to rebuild that model. A lot of it's been sort of destroyed this past year, but I think he could do it. In 2005, the economy was destroyed. They were taking out IMF loans to pay teachers' salaries, and from that sort of disaster, he created the Bolivian economic miracle. So yeah, the question of Evo is going to come back to Bolivia. Evo's going to come back. He's not going to be in government. He himself said that before the election. I'm not going to govern, and he said. I see my role as using my experience in social struggle and governing to train new leaders, train new sort of social movement leaders, political leaders. So he'll play a role in the party, a political role in the party, but not in government. Arce is the government.
And what did he mean, Arce, by the mystical, spiritual aspect? Yeah.
Yeah. The movement towards socialism is tied to the indigenous social movements, and part of that movement is built out of indigenous identity as well. The sort of cosmos, the relationship between the culture and Mother Earth, and things like that. This is spiritual. He's talking in spiritual terms, and I think that's incredibly important as well. The movement has to take on all elements, of sort of human existence, issue of poverty, economic growth, sort of basic living standards, but also the kind of cultural aspects that feed the soul, not just in Bolivia, but for all humans around the world. So that's I think it's incredibly important. I think I'm gonna have to leave you guys now, but
okay,
I hope have a discussion.
You have to come back on. We have to do an analysis of the crying Camacho guy.
Yes. I would love to do that. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Oh, I always milk I have to be more disciplined. I just have them. I try to keep them on as long as possible.
Well, you teased me to get. I was chomping at the bit to ask more questions about the infrastructure of, in particular, what do the formations look like among indigenous sovereignty movements and broad-based working class formations that are beyond that, and what does that look like on the ground? So let's have a part two.
I'm glad you didn't get the chance to ask that, because that's boring. Just kidding. It's very important. It's very important. That was that was very inspiring. So Joshua, tell us what you are up to. Wait, let me read. Let me see. Oh, did I have time to read all these? Got a tip for an excellent host like Katie and excellent guests. Oh, got a tip. Got it. Thank you, big old Mayo. I thought you were saying like, I have a tip for you. And I was like, who? Okay, yeah, thank you. So thank you for that. That's tip for me and the guests. And then we'll ask more people can talk more questions. But just to clarify, Sparky says Rick Vegas corrected me. It was Paraguay, which required the Euro indigenous marriages a while back, not Bolivia. Okay. So Joshua, I'm going to call you Josh. What are you up to? Tell us what you're working on right now.
So right now I'm sprinting, working with a project called Choose Democracy. And I mean, it's great that right now we're celebrating the victory in Bolivia and that coups are on the mind of the US left, because we need to turn our attention towards the potential of a stolen election here. And so what Choose Democracy is trying to do is prepare people both psychologically and logistically to resist a power grab, if Trump tries to steal the election. And we are using the language of coups as well, if it comes to that, which we can talk more about in a little bit. But really trying to, we formed just in August, we're a pretty ragtag group of grassroots direct action trainers that come out of a variety of social movements. We come out of the labor movement, out of the climate justice movement, racial and economic justice work. And a number of us have had experiences supporting people in other countries resisting coups, like in Thailand in 1992, for example, and folks who've really studied the dynamics of coups and think that we need to build that as a framework and strategy for anticipating a lot of election chaos to come.
And by the way, I feel like people may know you from the Michael Brooks show. Just wanted to give that context. Because someone who's not in the chat just texted me and was like, "Oh my God, I haven't seen him since Michael Brooks."
Well, I was on the Michael Brooks show yesterday. So whoever said that isn't still watching and should still watch, because it's still a great show, even though Michael's not with us anymore.
Right.
So my background is as a grassroots organizer and movement facilitator and trainer, mostly around climate work, but also supporting movements around the world. So trying to bring in those lessons for the US left in this moment.
Great. So let's, why don't we go through some of those, 1 second, sorry, I'm just gonna. Okay, let's bring in our other guest so he can also be, he can also share in this very important thing that you're working on. Leslie Lee.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, you?
I'm good.
Really mixing it up. Now, Leslie, you're really into pop culture, but, you know, I often feel like you and Jack, your co-host for Struggle Session, you know, make me talk about or look into nerdy gaming stuff. And so I thought this would be a good time. I mean, you always let me talk about politics, but I wanted to mix it up a little bit, drag you into this nerdy thing. But this is Leslie, by the way, Leslie Lee, who is the one of the hosts of Struggle Session, and we're doing a live show on Friday, a live Zoom show for Littlefield.
Yeah, for Littlefield, make sure to check it out, littlefieldnyc.com. We have some fantastic guests. We got Abby Marden, Rania Kalik, Brandon from the Discourse. We're going to be talking about, you know, tons of fun and interesting stuff. And it's a benefit, too, for, you know, Littlefield, which is this great venue, has tons of, you know, leftist stuff going on at it, and we're trying to help keep the lights on while this whole COVID situation is going on.
Right. Great. So I thought we could look at this. You guys did a very handy list of 10 things you know how to stop a coup. Now I just want to get this out of the way, be transparent. Like, a lot of people in this chat are like, oh, is this an anti-Trump? Not a lot. Some people are like, oh, is this some anti-Trump guy? And yes, this is an anti-Trump guy. Pro-Bernie guy. How do you want to introduce yourself and try to reach out to the people who think that you know, it's just a duopoly and no big difference?
Josh, are you talking to me?
Actually,
I thought you were talking to Leslie.
You're both kind of like that. Yeah, you both are. Yeah.
You want to go first, Leslie, or you want me to go?
Oh no, that's a question for you, Josh.
Yeah, because Leslie's not pushing anything. I'm making you do the hard work instead of I get protective and also not very helpful. It's like the worst of both worlds. I get defensive and protective, but then I ask you to defend yourself. I should just ignore quotes, ignore the chats because they're extremely distracting. Yeah, I mean, let's go through this.
Sure.
First.
Okay.
And Leslie can do a running commentary or not. or we can bring Leslie back. Leslie, feel free to disconnect. Let's see how it goes, okay? Let's see how it goes. All right.
Well, so the first question, you're asking me to define my politics, or
just give a little intro so people don't think I'm talking to someone from like, I don't know, like what, Emily's List, or like, I don't know, what's some super DNC type of thing.
Yeah. So my background is as a grassroots organizer. So I'm have never been registered as a Democrat, except for when we were, to vote for Bernie in the primary, of course. And our orientation with the coup stuff, it's not even anti-Trump, actually. It's anti-coup. So we can get more into that later and why we do that. But also my general position is that as a grassroots organizer, I'm trying to choose the terrain that I'm fighting on. And if I can choose a terrain where, I am not going to be thrown into jail for years and years and years for civil disobedience, and like what is the ground with which I can actually build social movements to win change, which is primarily my background is outside of the electoral arena. So I've only actually even gotten connected to electoral politics since Bernie opened that lane. I've been a grassroots organizer since the late 90s. I come out of primarily anti-authoritarian social movements that were, focused on really working within indigenous sovereignty movements in this country and the environmental justice movements to defeat things like pipeline infrastructure, to defeat logging corporations that are violating people's sovereignty, mass movement building. So in the way that the previous guest was talking about the relationship between broad-based independent left infrastructure as well as the electoral work, my work has primarily been in the former, not the latter. And so that's where I'm coming to this from. And I can say more about that if you want, but
no, it's good. I feel good about that. Mm-hmm. Leslie, how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm along for the ride.
So should we talk about this article that Daniel Hunter, who you're working with, right? He founded the Choose Democracy.
Yeah, so he's one of the coordinators, part of the founding crew that includes people like Daniel and people like, this guy, George Lakey, who was one of the coordinators of Mississippi Freedom Summer in 1964. And so we come out of a range of different movements. And part of what we're bringing to the table is having studied coups. And I'm not like a coup scholar, but we have folks in our team who have been. And we started just by assessing the terrain of the likelihood of them attempting to steal the election and how. And so there's a lot of different reasons that we felt like we need to be prepared for this. First and foremost, Trump is saying he's going to do it. He's been saying he's going to do it for months. I mean, he discredited the 2016 election and he won it. So the Republican Party has been building the legal machinery for over a year to try to take this into the courts and to discredit mail-in voting in order to set the predicate for calling the election fraudulent and using really extra legal means to engage in a power grab. So I can share more of that assessment and why, but we got together and realized that, we think it'd be very foolish to not be prepared to engage in this terrain because we also view 2000 as a coup. And so if we remember, what happened was that the Republican Party asserted, basically stopped the counting of ballots in Florida, and the Democratic Party capitulated to that when it went to the Supreme Court. And so part of our orientation is that if we can't rely on the Democratic Party to fight for even basic democratic norms in this country, and if this were called a coup in 2000, then more sectors of society might have had an opportunity to mobilize and engage rather than deferring to the judgment of the Democratic Party. And in doing so, the impulse of politicians is always to try to cut a deal or capitulate. And so some of the scenarios that we're imagining, so to be clear, when we say coup, we're not imagining tanks rolling in the streets or anything like that. We're not even imagining a scenario in which Trump loses the election and all the institutions of our society agree that he lost the election, and then he's somehow refusing to leave office and gets, the military engaged. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about is, number one, if they try to declare victory before all the ballots are counted, which is likely, or if they try to stop the counting of ballots, like what happened in 2000. Or if they go through and say, have these Republican-controlled state legislatures say that, well, our state seems to have voted against Trump, but we don't think those are legitimate, so we're going to, offer a different slate of electors to the Electoral College. And so in addition to the level of chaos that they're sowing with voter intimidation, Trump is organizing right now a thing called Army for Trump. And there are, all across these alt-right message boards on Reddit and whatever, militia people are becoming poll workers to try to intimidate people at the polls, especially in swing states. So we think it would be foolish to not be organizing and preparing, and also foolish to not learn the strategy lessons from how coups are stopped, which is, the reason that we use the language of a coup is first because there are, clear, we think the language of election interference or tampering or stolen election, like people are pretty inoculated against that and jaded around that. And that calling it a coup is a red line that most people in this country can get behind, but also because of its precision from the dynamics at play. And the dynamics at play from an organizing perspective it's suddenly a contest for legitimacy, right? And that if Trump is claiming legitimacy and Biden is claiming legitimacy, then what is the role of both civil society, but also all these other sections of the country to swing it in one favor or the other? And that's what we've learned from other coups in the past. Where whether it's like Thailand in 1992, Argentina in 1987, Germany in 1920, where it gets to that point where the move that we need to make is not protest. Like the left is, and to be clear, Choose Democracy is not a left project. I come out of the left, but we're in a place where we feel like we need to defend the ground that we stand on. Of course, we don't actually live in a democracy in this country, but it can get significantly worse. And I'm interested in creating the conditions where I can organize to actually, build transformation. And so that's our orientation. Well, let me say a thing about why getting back into protest mode is not the right move, is that normally as organizers who believe that social change comes from below, comes from grassroots people's movements, our orientation is we are organizing around longstanding grievances, we're building left infrastructure, and we pick a target, we polarize a situation, we build a base, and then leverage that base through various kinds of mobilizing to put pressure on a target to win a demand. But that's not the situation that we're in now. If we get into the streets and and if people are just protesting Trump, that just feeds into the existing narrative of polarization in this society. It doesn't actually do anything to change the dynamic. But instead, if we lean into the canon of what's called non-compliance, so what I'm talking about is strikes of withholding labor, not just within the labor movement, but also, we're working with a lot of youth organizations around student strikes. We are talking about basically shutting down the country in a variety of different kinds of ways through occupations, shutting down corporations, highways, mail, transit, etc. And I can talk a little bit more about the groups who are starting to, sow the seeds for that. But the way that coups are defeated historically, and half of all coups since the 1950s have been stopped, not all of them because of grassroots people power, but many of them through non-compliance, through people refusing to carry out the orders of the coup plotters, which really means that, yeah. So I'll stop there. We can go in whatever direction you want to go in.
So I just want to pause and say, God. People are so annoying with the anti-Chomsky stuff. And I'm talking to my chatters. I shouldn't call them annoying. But I think you can take... One of them said I shouldn't read the troll stuff, but one of them said I'm a neoliberal in sheep's clothing, and which is fine. And then people are like, oh, it's all the Republicans. What about the Democrats? I'm not defending myself, but I am, obviously. It's like, I think I've earned it. Like, I think I'm critical enough about Democrats. I don't think I need to convince people that I think Democrats are heroes. And I think that it's not like the worst. I don't know. I don't dismiss the argument that I don't dismiss a harm reduction voting argument. So I just think people can, this sounds so corny, but like, I understand people who don't want to vote or who aren't going to, but you don't have to be so annoying about it. What do you think, Leslie?
Well, I'm just going to take a look at the super chat because there's a couple of interesting questions for you, Josh, already. First question is, what do you think of Tulsi?
I actually am I don't even have an opinion on Tulsi. I'm like not following that whole, I mean, I have actually nothing to say about it. I do have something to say about what the Chomsky thing and what you just said, Katie. Yeah. But
1 second, Leslie, what do you think of Tulsi? Is there something
I generally, loyalty matters, and she's the only one who kind of sacrificed something as far as DNC wise to stand with Bernie. Like the one of the few people, Nina Turner, obviously, just one Namiki, just one of the few people. So I think loyalty matters, And the thing about it, I said with her when she endorsed Bernie, I was like, okay, we're gonna win because like the grifters are getting on our side, right? Like if a grifter, if somebody you don't trust is getting on your side, that means that like, all right, you're winning. Sadly, that's not how it ended up, unfortunately. Not yet, at least, not yet.
You think Bernie could still win? You're saying?
Yes.
It's not Bernie would have won; it's Bernie will win.
He will win.
He will win. Yeah. Hey, but Leslie, you're some. Oh yeah.
Oh no, I just wanted to go back to the Chomsky thing, but we can if you're
really quickly. I just want to over it. No, I'm not over it. I just want to say, Leslie, I think you're a person who is both. I think I don't know your formal position on voting or if you're going to share it, but you or someone I would feel comfortable saying, I think there's a lot of logic to voting for Biden in a swing state, and I wouldn't feel like you would attack me as a neoliberal.
I won't. I mean, my thing is like, what me worry? It's not my problem. Everybody is saying that this one is in the bag. Now, Josh, according to you, Josh, is not, as that simple. But, a lot of people are saying, pundits who know far more than me get a lot more saying, so it's not my problem. I can just, it's fine. We can sit this one out. Now, Josh, I'll give you the platform to say what you want to say, but I'm hearing that we don't have to worry about it. Like it's in the bag. Biden is going to win this by like 20 points. Like they're just running the score up. But according to what you're saying, Josh, it may not be that simple.
Yeah, I think unless he wins by a landslide, where all of the different, extra legal maneuvers that the Trump administration is doing can't add up to enough to overcome it, I think that we're going to be in for a long period of election chaos in a really fluid situation. And I think we need to be ready to respond to it. And that's what I think. And on the voting thing, I guess I just want to say I come to the conversation from a different vantage point, because I totally understand if people are disillusioned and like, why am I going to vote for this guy, Biden? I mean, I came up in a political milieu where I never thought that I had the luxury of ever voting for someone who represented me. I always thought that, these are all our opponents, and so I view them all basically as enemies. And if I view myself as in a war, if I'm given the opportunity to choose my enemy or choose the battlefield, I'm going to do that. And that, so I don't view voting as like an individual expression of my moral, performance, but rather as a strategy move. And I also want to say on the debate that's happening right now, if I believed that we were organized enough where withholding our votes had any strategic value, I would be very excited about that. If we actually had a real labor movement that was, had mass participation in the country, and the various social movement infrastructure we had was enough to align folks that we actually had leverage to withhold our votes, then that would be great. But I don't actually see any strategic value in sitting out of the election, and I'm not going to judge and so like for normal people who don't want to vote, like, okay, I mean, that's whatever, that's your choice. But I do think for people who are self-identified leftists, who are politicized, who are participants in social movements, I don't know any organizers who are having this debate even. I mean, all the organizers I know is like, our movements for the last 4 years have been constantly surveilled, have been on defense continually. We don't have breathing room to organize. The difference between a Trump and Biden administration of who they'll nominate to the National Labor Relations Board will entirely constrain the ability of labor to organize, for example. And I don't want to be back in a COINTELPRO situation where we are constantly surveilled, and we are, there was recently the extrajudicial killing of that Antifa guy in Portland and so, I mean, granted, he was wanted for murder, but there was, I don't want to go back to when Panthers were being murdered in their beds. And so for me, I'm like, it's fighting neoliberalism versus fighting some kind of proto-authoritarianism are different conditions. But I also want to be clear. I'm just speaking for myself now. The Choose Democracy project is like a nonpartisan project. It's not even anti-Trump. It's anti-coup. And there's a lot more I can say about the project, but that's where I'm coming from with it.
Yeah. Do you want to share the 10 points do you want me to open that article?
I don't know that we need to do the 10.
All right.
But so I'll say a little bit more about, what we're up to, which is that, so we have a pledge that so far 30,000 people have signed. We're just getting going. That is, includes, saying we're going to participate in the process. We're going to refuse to accept the results if, a winner is declared before all the votes are counted. And if we're going to nonviolently take to the streets if a coup is attempted, and if we need to, we're going to shut down the country. And so that's using the various tactics like I described. And so what we're doing right now is really trying to seed the ground for a lot of those frameworks. And so there's a lot of groups that are now getting engaged and realizing that there's a real potential for this. So, for example, the Rochester AFL-CIO, the Central Labor Council there, which represents 70,000 people, they all said they were going to go on strike and that they were going to push for a general strike, which, of course, we don't have infrastructure for something like that in this country. However, we do think the level of tectonic shift that can happen in a situation of a stolen election really can create unlikely alliances and bring new people out. So other examples of that are that the Seattle Educators Association just passed a resolution that within 7 days of the election, if there's interference, they're going to have a work stoppage. There was the Emergency Workplace Organizing Committee just had a meeting yesterday that included people like the Flight Attendants Union, President Sarah Nelson. It's a collaboration between DSA and the electrical workers about what workers can do to stop Trump. The Detroit postal workers are now printing up leaflets with the pledge to, with their union letterhead. And the pledge is basically an organizing tool for people. And so it's fine if people in your audience don't like the "we will vote" part. I would encourage people to not get hung up on that. What this is trying to do is be a middle of the road thing to, basically what we believe is in a coup scenario. If we agree that we're in a contest for legitimacy, we're playing a different game than activists are used to playing. So my whole life, I've been very frustrated with respectability politics. I've been very frustrated with the way that, the Democrats in particular pander to some mythologized center. But in this situation, we really are trying to get an uncertain center off the fence and push all the institutions of society to delegitimize the outcome of a potential stolen election. And so in that case, we're talking about creating a mass framework that can be inviting to as many people as possible to stand up for some basic red lines. And the hope there is that if we get here, and I'm not claiming that it's definitely going to happen, but I am claiming that it would be silly to not prepare for it. And if we do get to a point where there's that level of chaos happening and more people in this country are forced to fight for even the basic modicum of democracy, that it's an opportunity to keep organizing. So, and that's another lesson we learned from other countries. Like, so in Argentina, when they defeated their coup in 1987, they had been having all kinds of coups since the 30s. Once that happens, not only did they have civilian rule ever since, but the infrastructure that was built through mass noncompliance, through people refusing to legitimize the would-be coup plotters, through people choosing democracy, so to speak, that created enough infrastructure that then they started pushing really hard and gave way to all kinds of resistance to later stages of neoliberalism, resistance to the IMF, the reclaiming of factories and collectivizing them, etc. So it it's an opportunity to revitalize a mass orientation in this country. And so we're in collaboration with all kinds of different groups that are working in swing states to do things like, show up to polling places where there might be voter intimidation from Proud Boys or militias or whatever, especially in like working class Black neighborhoods in Florida, for example. There's groups like the Dream Defenders who are working in a coalition with Sunrise to do that. So there's a lot that's unfolding. And so when people sign the pledge, they get plugged into there's opportunities to do training. So we're training thousands and thousands of people. We're doing we have 8 more trainings before the election that are all like, there's Zoom training, so you can participate from everywhere. And it's, part of what we're trying to do is psychologically prepare people to say like, yeah, it can happen here. They're like, get rid of this, American exceptionalism kind of idea. Right. Like and that is rooted in our politics of like, we don't really live in a democracy. And so we need to find the leverage points that we have in order to increase our sphere of agency. Because the thing that they want most is for us to believe that we don't have agency.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, we got a nice comment from Clement Cole. Shout out to everyone on the show. Also love Josh's take on voting is about choosing your enemies. I'm stealing it.
Take it.
Yeah, take it. So are these training meetings about how to sign the pledge?
No. So it's most people who go to the trainings have signed the pledge. And so they're everything from like direct action planning to, de-escalation training if you're facing violence from right-wing militias, to some historical education about coups that have happened elsewhere. There's also like movement stories. One of the lead trainers is like a grandpa who is it's experientially based, it's data driven, and we're also, people who sign the pledge where we have an action hub, and we also are listing lots of other trainings. There's a lot of different groups right now doing trainings. The Movement for Black Lives ecosystem is also doing similar trainings around the country that we're amplifying. There's a group called the Blackout Collective that's doing it. There's a group called Shut Down DC that is doing trainings almost daily to shut down all of Washington DC through direct action. And so it's learning these tools, it's learning these skills.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's see what this pledge is. Let's see. We will vote. We will refuse to accept election results until all the votes are counted. We will non-violently take to the streets if a coup is attempted. If we need to, we will shut down this country to protect the integrity of the democratic process. So, Leslie, here's my challenge to you. Ready?
Yes.
Are there any of these? Now, it's not going to count because to get credit for the pledge, you got to do all of them. But I'm just curious, in principle, are there any of these things that you would pledge to?
That I would pledge to? Oh, I can refuse to accept the election results until even after all the votes are counted. I still want to.
So you're going to take it. You're actually more hardcore than Josh.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, Josh, I want to help you pitch this to various, this is how you get the Leslie block. How would we describe the Leslie block? You gotta, I'm just saying that some people may not want to full hog sign the entire pledge.
I'm just going to assume a coup has taken place regardless. Doesn't matter. And then we do our own coup, and that's how that works.
So you're almost, you're coup normative almost.
Yeah.
My pitch is also, it's fine if you don't like all parts of the pledge. I mean, this is to be, and let me, I think I said this before, but it's not a left project. So if you're going to look at the project trying to poke holes from a left perspective, it is a popular project trying to win a majority in the society. And if you believe that leftists have a role to play in actually learning how to connect with regular people and organize them, and learn how to mobilize and learn the mechanics of street mobilization in various kinds of ways, that's the reason to plug in. It's not because, and there are plenty of left groups that are preparing all kinds of election resistance. This is not a project of like a self-identified activist fringe. And I'm not saying this is the Leslie block, by the way, but this isn't the place for, if that's not what this project is. This project is
you're doing. Sorry, I'm trying to create a lot of drama here. I'm like, oh, you're doing the thing that did do the third party. We don't need you. But then you're going to blame Leslie for not showing up in the street. I'm just kidding. I'm just projecting all of those dynamics onto this. Yeah. Sorry.
I didn't totally understand that, but I believe you.
It was a stupid. I was trying to stir the pot, and I was talking about it like the way the Dems would say, like, we don't need you, third party. And then when third party when the Dems lost, they blamed all the third party people. I know that's not what you're doing. It just popped into my head as a funny parallel. I guess it was only funny to me though. No, I think Leslie cracked a smile, but it wasn't very clear. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting and important. You know, it's funny because obviously Chomsky has been taking a lot of heat from some people, and then he's also become a resistance hero to other people, which is funny. But one of the ironies is that, like, Chomsky doesn't believe in. He doesn't like fetishize voting or the vote,
right?
And I think that's something that some people don't understand, which is like, it's not, he doesn't hold that sacred. Like he doesn't think we live in a democracy. So it's just one thing that one can do.
Well, and that's what's similar about my, you know, I would articulate my position differently than he does. But
you'd probably be a lot less monotone
and repetitive.
And your voice would raise a little bit more.
Or condescending. So, no, I really, I don't think that voting is the most important tool in our toolbox. I think it's not. I think that, you know, if you want to influence the Democratic Party, we have to beat them. We have to primary them in elections, whether that's through running candidates on, you know, through the Democratic Party or not. And we have to build enough power to elect our people. And until we do that, then we're in a position where we view politicians as our enemies, who we pressure through the logic of power to make. I mean, the movement traditions that I come out of have won all of their gains under presidents that were horrible. So, like, I mean, it was Lyndon Johnson that signs the Civil Rights Act and the Housing Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. He was a segregationist, you know, like Kennedy put him on the ticket to get the segregationist vote. You think he was sympathetic or was persuaded? No, it was the logic of power from the role that social movements were playing at the time. Similarly, you know, with the environmental movement, we got the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the creation of the EPA under Nixon. You think Nixon wasn't, you know, in the pocket of big business that hated that stuff? Of course not. So for me, I'm like, I'm fighting all these people. Fighting neoliberals it actually is easier, and so that's the path I'm going to choose. But to me, the idea that like my vote matters or has any influence on the Democratic Party that's not my strategic. I don't think there's leverage there. And so that's why I'm like, well, if you want to do that either way, like it's just I'm just having a different conversation, you know? And so I think that's what's frustrating to me about the debate that I see happening online is it does seem to assume that voting is, this is the irony of my position.
Right.
I don't think voting's that important, which is why I think that's why I do it. Right. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else that you want to make sure people know about, and in terms of the pledge or what the project is? And I think there were some questions for you too. Yeah. Daniel Alloy says that looks like a good set of promises to keep. All right. I'm okay. Let me look for more questions.
One good one is are you a CIA agent? And if you're taking orders from Gina Haspel, which I think if you're anybody on the left, you do have to answer whether you're a CIA agent at some point or not.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I was, would I say it?
No. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So what is that question? Yeah. I mean,
are you not a CIA agent?
Let me say one thing about that impulse though, which is just that there's of course it's
I found a serious question for you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the one thing I'll say about the CIA though, it's important to understand the world through a lens of U.S. imperialism. It's also important to understand marginalized communities within the U.S. as like internal colonies, and that the CIA has a role there. And we should be students of the way the CIA has wrecked the world, and the level of, accusing everyone of being an agent. Like, there's a way that I see some parts of the left giving away our agency by imagining that
giving away our Central Intelligence Agency,
giving away the power of people's movements matter too. Like, we have an impact too, even though we're up against all these forces. And if we have such a conspiratorial mindset, what it does is it robs us of having any impact in the world, right? So
yeah. Well, so Zach Boyles writes, sorry, I came in late. Where is it? Well, I took a screen grab of it. Anyway, sorry, I came in late. Which coup are we talking about? Biden, DNC taking primary, Trump taking general, or Twitter running interference? I mean, they're all connected at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, but we are focusing on the potential, 2020 general election. But I mean, we already lived through the coup, the anti-Bernie coup.
Right, exactly.
And we needed to organize before that. That's when we needed to sign the pledge. Leslie, would you have signed that pledge? The pledge to not accept the primary results?
Oh, I say I have not accepted the primary
right, exactly.
Results.
Yeah, you're leagues ahead of us. Yeah.
Very interesting question from Bill. Super question. Josh, should we welcome the help of the military if Trump refuses to accept the election results, or is that not within the universe of what you're talking about?
I don't think we have. I mean, to me, it's like the military is going to do whatever we're not going to enter a strategic coalition with the military. So I don't really know what it means to welcome the help of them. I think here's one way that I think I see society, which is that, especially in moments like this, which is that, any administration, if you think of it like there's a house and there's a roof. I'm making a triangle with my fingers. And then there's different pillars of society that need to support that roof, right? So the military is one of those pillars. So is capital. So is labor. So is the media, right? So are the courts. There's a bunch of different pillars that hold up society. And if we can weaken and pull out certain pillars out from under them, the governing structure collapses. And so there are some pillars like the military that we don't have any control over, that we're not. And so to me, I'm not even thinking about, I'm thinking about what the military is doing only to the degree that I'm thinking about what our moves are. But what I'm thinking about is, what are the pillars that are within our control? How can we weaken them and pull them out from under the kind of edifice? And so that's part of my strategic orientation overall. And so there's, but it is true. I mean, I just want to acknowledge, like, the big tent moment that we're in is a horrible moment to be in. I don't want to be defending the status quo of this system, but I also know how much worse it can get. I've supported social movements in other countries like Turkey that it is a lot worse. And so for me, I don't want to be moving backwards. And so this is like an acute moment that calls for, defending baseline institutions, where if I can come out swinging, fighting Biden come January, that's what I want to be doing. And so I know I've digressed from the original question, but that's what I think about that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the nice things about, for me, about how much, I've enjoyed seeing, what is the thing? Like, I've enjoyed how much the CIA and Trump, in some ways, the intelligence community and Trump, I like that there's that tension there, in a way that we didn't see with Obama, for instance. So I do think that, I don't know. I mean, I've thought that. I think that the military, I think like the powers that be would not allow a Trump coup, which doesn't mean that what you're saying couldn't happen. Like, all this stuff could happen, right? Like, there could be violence in the streets. They could try to legally challenge the vote. Yeah. But
well, like weird. I said, they're gonna. It would be allowed if it was legitimized, right? So I don't right. think, yeah, like, I mean, I'm not.
Right, but it's an important point that you say, which is that we shouldn't be expecting like tanks to be rolling into the street.
Yeah, that's not what anybody's talking about.
Right.
But I understand why people would be skeptical with the language of a coup, to think that we're being hyperbolic, right. When what we're trying to talk about is the dynamics at play with more precision.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Josh, somebody actually is talking about, like, so when you say coup, what if there's a high tech coup? What if Twitter, Facebook, and the media decide to tell us who the president is before the election results? What can you do to push back on that? I mean, to me, I think like they might have competing declarations for who is president. Twitter and Facebook. Twitter will say, Biden. Facebook says Trump. The media says, mainstream media says Biden. What if they have competing narratives?
Totally.
Depends on which your favorite social media site. That's who your president is for the next 4 years.
We should definitely expect chaos, and not just with the media, but I do think, and back to this like duopoly thing, I think it's important to understand that, of course, we in this country, there is a ruling class that has two parties under its control, and we're fighting both of them. And they're not, the ruling class is also fighting itself constantly. It's not that if we view it as a monolith, we have no basis for strategy. And so it's important to understand what you were talking about, KT, a second ago, where we need to understand the fault lines and fissures within the ruling class if we're going to actually be engaging in really changing society. And so, and that's also true with
divide
the
and conquer.
media. And also, I mean, and that's why Trump is playing, and I'm kind of I'm definitely digressing here, but Trump is playing a different game than the ruling class is used to playing. The ruling class in this country is used to this bipartisan collaboration on the things that matter to them, which is a certain imperialist foreign policy, screwing over workers, et cetera, and then they're happy to, publicly squabble about culture wars and stuff like that. What Trump represents, to me, is much more, the way that ruling classes tend to be structured in places like Turkey or Eastern Europe right now, where it's actually like these family lines that are, going after each other. Like when Trump says he wants to jail, Hillary and jail all these people, he's looking to other countries where there are family, like nepotistic units that do actually want to jail the other ruling class families. They see themselves as they see them as their enemies. And that is something that is different. And it means the landscape is different. And if we pretend it's just all the same, we can't organize in that way, And so, but to arc back, Leslie, what you were saying with the Twitter, Facebook stuff, I mean, that's also a good example of there may be moments when we need to be, mobilizing around the media where, I know that there's conversations among direct action networks in the Bay Area around, what would it look like to shut down, Facebook, what would it look like? And I don't mean shut it down on the internet. I mean, shut down their physical locations in order to exert pressure on them. And so that's the kinds of we don't pretend to have a crystal ball about the thousands of different directions it could go, nor do we have the one sort of strategic solution. But what we are doing is offering a strategy framework so that people aren't just aimlessly marching in the streets to express their outrage, feel good about themselves, go home and not change anything. And so that's what we're trying to be thinking about.
No, Joshua does not love Biden, everyone.
It's so funny to be. I will say, Katie, it's funny that this is the first time I'm coming on your show. That it's like a funny first impression to make because I've been fighting these neoliberals my whole life, and so for the first time, I'm coming out to say that we need to be building broad fronts because of the moment. And my whole life, I'm taking heat, like to. And I'm not just saying this to sort of defend my street cred or whatever, but, when Obama was elected, like during his campaign, there was a number of us who were starting to meet and organize saying, well, people are about to be disillusioned with this neoliberal who's talking this talk. At what point can we start to organize them? At what point will we have a critical mass of disillusioned people? And when we built the campaign to stop the Keystone XL pipeline, we were the first civil society campaign to target Obama directly that was coming from the left. And in a moment where everybody hated us for doing it. They wanted us to do anything other than target Obama. And there were a number of other social movements that were doing the same thing at that moment, including like the DACA kids who were chaining themselves to the White House, and then eventually Occupy as well. But it's like wherever else I go, I get yelled at for not giving the Dems enough credit. So it's a funny position to be in to meet your audience right now.
Someone asked me what is the best John Carpenter movie. It's The Thing, of course.
Yeah,
it's The Thing. Josh, do you have a preference?
I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. I don't have your pop culture expertise.
Now people are gonna be really mad at you.
Yeah.
Well, one serious question. I know. One serious question. Joshua, primarily from Chris Kelly. What campaigns have your volunteers participated in? Roles, typical day, how to get involved?
So it's a range of things. People are coming to the trainings from really all walks of life, which we mark as a success. And so some of them don't know what to do. And so the pledge itself is not important. Like we don't, and that's why I said, like, it doesn't matter if you are if you're voting or whatever. The pledge is an organizing tool to get people to move off the fence. So there are people, for example, targeting politicians to sign the pledge in order to get them on the record around these red lines saying that they're going to refuse to accept an election result, for example. That's something that people are doing who have no background in social movements, no background in organizing, for example. The other, so I mentioned earlier in the show what labor is doing, and I think things are building quickly there. Mentioned also groups like Momentum, the Dream Defenders, Sunrise, and what they're doing is mobilizing their bases to really go to, like, so for example, what Dream Defenders is doing all over Florida is there's the supervisor of election offices, which is where recounts happen, or it's where the counts happen. And there are already going to be, like the Trump administration's trying to file some kind of legal injunction to stop the counting of ballots already, because Florida has actually already cast a lot of ballots. And so a lot of it is to prevent these sort of like militia kind of riots from happening at these polling places recount places, to shut them down. And so, where it goes, and of course, the early adopters in this are also a lot of these direct action networks that are, Shut Down DC didn't start with this, and so, but our expectation is that if things escalate, if things go this way, which again, to be clear, I'm not saying this is definitely going to happen. I'm saying we need to be ready. And so we expect a lot more groups to start getting engaged and asking, well, what do we do? And so there's already a framework there for groups to take if they want. And there'll also be a lot of groups doing other things as well who don't like our framework, and that's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Joshua. Leslie and I are going to talk a little bit about pop culture now. Feel free to, stick around if you want to.
What part of pop culture are you talking? I'm pretty illiterate.
All right. Well, you can watch, or you can, you can just watch us. I don't know what.
I can be a laugh track for you if you want.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. He does have a good laugh, Josh. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, well, thank you so much. And let's see. Sorry, I'm laughing at a lot of the comments. Some people are really angry. You don't have a strong feeling about Tulsi.
Can you say free Assange? I think that will win over the.
Well, that's of course free Assange, of course.
There you go, guys.
Yeah, okay. That's an obvious position to take.
Yeah.
I do think with I'm really this is the thing is also the funny thing of the accusations of neoliberalism and stuff is like I'm not that in tune with national politicians. I don't follow them that closely. I'm not a cheerleader for any of these people, except for Bernie. And that was the sea change in my life that actually woke me up that the electoral arena really matters, and so there's whatever.
I'm having a Sparky.
Sparky, you gotta give him some credit for the free Assange. You got just a little bit, but thanks for all the super chats. But hey, you're putting your money where your mouth is. At least you're a troll who puts in the tip jar.
Knows about elections, but not Tulsi.
I don't know about national elections. I know about pressuring politicians.
See, Sparky, you just you dropped the ball on that one. Mm-hmm. A lot of your other Tulsi, I think your rage is. Hold on, let me just see. Tulsi, these are more Sparky comments. Tulsi's for election integrity. Josh doesn't. Josh doesn't know.
Yeah,
yeah, he said you sound very scripted, very robber baron NGO like. You do have some NGO energy, but that's fine. I don't read. I don't read the Robin one.
I'll take that as good feedback. I'm not sure. Yeah.
No, I think it's hard to be doing what you're doing. All right. Well, you can stay on, or you can whatever you want. But we're gonna this was great. We're gonna now. Sparky wants to know what you think about the yellow vests. I don't know what I think about the yellow vests.
Yeah, I haven't. The yellow vests are complicated. Any big movement has a lot of different dynamics at play, and I haven't been looking towards France in the last 6 months, so I don't know what's up with them right now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and Bill Cole says, Josh, sorry for some in the chat. Thanks for coming on.
Oh yeah, I'm not looking at the chat, so I'm only hearing what they say, and so yeah, I'm not reading. But it's also fun for me to get to talk. Yeah, I would love to come back on and talk to some of your folks about organizing strategy, because it's a different. It's yeah. Anyway, cool. Yeah, I'm also like, yeah, bring it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and I'll link to your thing, and yeah, I'll link to the pledge. And then I'm gonna maybe on another show, Leslie and I can Leslie can tweak it and do his own pledge, but linking back to yours. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Josh.
All right. Later.
Good night.
Bye.
See ya.
Leslie, you're such a troublemaker.
How am I a troublemaker? What did I do?
The Tulsi question.
Oh,
I don't know why that cracked me up. You're like, well, someone here wants to ask about. Anyway,
it's the super chat. I'm just giving people what they pay for.
I know, yeah. Leslie, can you give lesser known horror movie rec? What actually? Yeah, I want to know. By the way, what you think what movie best captures like the moment we're in now? Are we living in The Purge?
Oh yeah, definitely the best version of contemporary horror. Probably the first Purge, which is not the first Purge movie. It's called the first Purge. It's the latest Purge movie. That's the movie of the moment. That and Joker is basically that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, which I still haven't seen Joker. I got to watch it. I interviewed you about it, and we talked about it on Useful Idiots, and
And your mom talked about.
My parents saw it. Yeah, my dad, and then my parents saw it. My dad was like, it was so sad. Mommy really liked it, but it was so sad.
Yes, it is very sad. So horror movie recommendations. So I put a list in the chat. First thing is the last thing I watched this is on Netflix. It's an anthology from 2016. It's called Holidays, and it's 8 horror shorts based on the major holidays. And if that sounds like a bad idea to you, it actually is. It's a horrible idea. Most of the shorts aren't very good. The Kevin Smith one for Halloween, which is the easiest holiday to do, is one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's absolutely horrible. But smack dab in the middle, so you're going to have to fast forward to the middle. There's 2. There's Mother's Day and there's Father's Day, and they're both really, really excellent. So you got to fast forward maybe 30 minutes in and just watch those 2. They're both very good. Some other full movies. The Void is a very good Lovecraftian type horror movie that if you like John Carpenter, if you like H.P. Lovecraft, you're gonna really love The Void. If you like Cronenberg too, you'll like The Void. What else? There's a new one on Shudder called Host. If you're a horror fan, you have to have a Shudder subscription. Really think if you're a movie fan, you should have a Shudder subscription. Not that they pay me, but it's probably like the best bang for your buck of any of the streaming services. They only focus on horror, and they just have tons and tons of good stuff. And they have 3 channels that play, so you don't even have to pick something to watch. You can just turn on the channel and something's playing. So if you one thing I'll recommend from a comrade, Channel Zero, which is a TV series that was on, I think, Sci-Fi. But some of the writers are Bernie supporters, and and they did 4 seasons. They're all up on Shudder, and it's just some of the best horror television you can watch.
Bill Cole, by the way, says Movie for Our Times, Facing the Crowd, or Network. Those are his suggestions.
Those also both apply. There's I really when I think about I've been thinking about this lately, like what's our contemporary like form of science fiction specifically, because there's this video game coming out called Cyberpunk 2077, and it's kind of interesting because the idea of cyberpunk is we'll still think of it as very futuristic, this near future world where there's so much exciting technology and people are getting cybernetic implants and doing all this crazy stuff, and we were in some cyberpunk we have even expanded across the solar system. We've left the planet. You can go and work and live on Mars in Total Recall, but that vision of the future, it really started in like the 1960s with like Philip K. Dick, and so we're still like living in this moment where our only conception of the future has been defined by the past. If that sounds familiar, that's because Mark Fisher said it first, the late great socialist philosopher said it first. So I'm not inventing it. Somebody's mentioned Blade Runner in the chat. I was born the year Blade Runner came out, 1982, and we're still doing the same thing. Our vision of the future hasn't changed. I think we had a brief moment where I don't even think it counts as a future, where post 9/11 we had a lot of post-apocalyptic stuff, zombie stuff, but that's not actually like a future for humanity. We don't think like that's the end of humanity, right? Like that's the only vision. I think that maybe the best encapsulation of that is Cormac McCarthy's The Road, almost the perfect post 9/11 post-apocalyptic novel where a lot of people don't know this. I did the research on this. Cormac McCarthy actually said that The Road was about 9/11 and was about the Muslim threat destroying the world, and that is like part of the reason why he wrote that book. And a lot of people love that book and feel it's deeply emotional, but it's very strange for a post-apocalyptic novel to be, because when you actually read it, it's completely uncritical of what came before. Most post-apocalyptic stories usually say, oh, the reason that the world fell was because people were so vain and greedy and foolish and stupid. And there's lots of anti-capitalist post-apocalyptic novels. But when you read something like The Road, it just tells us like everything was just so good. People were just so good and pure, and we need to get back to that. And just why did the world end? Who knows? It's never stated.
Birdman says Demolition Man.
Oh, Demolition Man.
Yeah.
God, we'd be lucky if we get Demolition Man.
What's his name? Who's that with?
That's a Utopia. No, it was Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. Demolition Man is a utopia, actually. Oh my God, that would be so wonderful. I mean, the only restaurant is Taco Bell. That's pretty. But other than that, it's pretty much a utopia.
That's the one topic segment part of it.
I mean, in comparison to what we live in, like
I see.
like
Okay,
like everything is ultra PC, like in their world. Like you can't even swear without being like a little drone comes by and finds you.
Wow.
So it's not. I mean, it's very strange. It's like it's a bad world, so it technically is dystopic. But like, I think most people would like 100% sign up for it.
Living in America, Fantomas Fanto says, living in American Psycho meets Idiocracy. Sparky says Soylent Green is people. Yeah. And Doris Oliveira says, very good episode. Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, I think that, what's a horror film I've seen? This is really why I really do prefer thrillers to horror, just because I find them more escapist because they're more realistic. I do have to see Snowpiercer though, so I can talk about it with you.
What are your favorite thrillers?
Hitchcock. I really like Death. What was it? Death Becomes. No. What is it called? It's with Kenneth Branagh. I don't know if it's dated well at all. Can someone tell me the movie with death? It's black and white. It's with Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson. Demolition Man meets Fahrenheit 451. Cronenberg or David Lynch. I think that's for you.
Cronenberg or David Lynch.
Two dueling Davids, right?
Ooh. I probably
Dead Again. Thank you. I really like it. Dead Again. Yeah.
I'm not. I like the easy answer is Cronenberg. At this point I've seen and prefer many more of Cronenberg's films than Lynch, but I'm slowly. But that's part because I'm slowly being won over by Lynch these past few years. I was never a Lynch guy. I was actually really disliked him for quite a while. Yeah, but in the recent
which
years,
ones? Is it that you've seen different movies or you've just changed?
Well, here's the thing. Like the first Lynch thing I watched, a friend of mine showed me at like 2 a.m. This was a hot couch experience. If anybody knows what that is from Chapo Trap House, Felix Biederman. Okay, so Katie, there was a period. I'm sure you experienced this yourself. Like you're in college or you're a little post college, right? And you've gone out and done something completely unimpressive, and then you wake up at like 7:30 on a Saturday and it's hot and you're sleeping on someone's couch that's your friend, and there's a DVD like stuck playing on loop in the DVD player on the menu. That is what a hot couch experience is. Just one of those nights. And I was having one of those nights, and my good friend put on Fire Walk With Me, which is the Twin Peaks movie.
Right.
Which, first of all, makes no sense if you have not seen Twin Peaks. And second of all, is completely and utterly horrifying to watch on any level, completely off-putting. So I watched that. I'm like, I'm never watching anything with David Lynch in it.
Leslie, that's not a very professional assessment.
What? I wasn't a professional critic. I was.
Right. I see. So basically, you're doing the work, though. You're doing the work.
Yes, I'm doing the work. I have since that time, giving Lynch more of a chance. But what I realized, Gardner mentions that Blue Velvet is one of the most horrifying movies of all time. I realized, and it took me a while to realize this. I watched that over and over again when I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8. I like saw Blue Velvet a bunch of times because it was on cable, and I remember watching it, and like it was really weird and not really fully understanding it.
Right.
But I have seen Blue Velvet several times as a very young child. Whenever it would premiere on like Showtime, I think it was, that's when I watched it, and I'm sure it scarred me on some level.
Right. Maybe that's why you have maybe you knew that subconsciously, so you had a bad reaction. You resented Lynch for that early childhood trauma, so you hated his other stuff. Favorite book or movie? For me, I really like book. I don't know. I like Patricia Highsmith a lot. I like a lot of her novels. I like Cry of the Owl. Of course, I'm partial to Nora Eisenberg. My mom. The War at Home. Favorite movie? Waiting for Guffman. It's like the best Christopher Guest. But I really liked what's the Lynch one about? What's it called? Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive is amazing. That's
I really like
that. Amazing movies ever.
I saw that in the theaters. I saw that in a movie theater, and I really liked it. And it's weird. It's like I feel like David Lynch is like I can't totally put my finger on. It's like the line, what makes something pretentious versus great? It's very, I don't know where that line is or how, you know what they say about pornography? I don't know what it is, but I can tell when I see it or whatever.
Yes.
Like, that's what like good pretentious but not pretentious art is. And that's, I feel like what Mulholland Drive was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a really great film while still being, you know, very twisty and maybe hard to understand, hard to follow, but it's still like very fun and visceral and like the good kind of weird and not weird for a weird sake. I really
exactly that's what it is. It's when it's good, right? And yeah, the Llorando part was amazing. You know, the cover of the crying song, which is great. But that's what it is. It's like, what did you say? Weird for weird sake. That's what it is.
Yeah.
When that's the difference. Like that's what I think makes something good versus pretentious.
Yeah.
What do you think of the song, I Believe When I Fall in Love with You, It'll Be Forever? Do you know the song by Stevie Wonder?
No, I don't think
so. All right,
Maybe
we'll have to play it another time. It's not one of his big hits, but to me, that is like a song, because there's also a line between corny and great. I'll play it for you later.
Oh, yes. Stevie Wonder rides that line a lot.
See, I realized at a wedding that I really don't like a couple years ago. There was a bunch of, it's funny. Like, you know, there was a DJ and they played My Cherie Amour. And I was like, I don't like that song. And then next it was like Signed, Sealed, Delivered, I'm Yours. I'm like, oh, this is such an annoying song. And then the next one was like, Miss America, I don't know, whatever. Isn't she lovely? And I was like, this is such an annoying song. My friend's like, you just don't like Stevie Wonder. And I realized that I really don't like his hits, but I do love some of his songs, including I Believe When I Fall in Love with You. I'm sure that's not the title. It'll Be Forever. But it's almost corny like his other stuff.
Yeah.
But then like it's actually good.
Yeah, instead. Stevie Wonder is definitely one of those artists where it can be, you know, very, and part of that is just time, because he became like what pop music was for a while, and for us, like by the time we heard it, like that was like our parents' music, so it wasn't cool or new anymore, and nothing he do, like the things that he was the first to do, we took for granted, like everybody's supposed to be like this. You know, we already had Michael Jackson, so Stevie Wonder is not, you know, it might not blow our socks off. Someone asked me what's my thoughts on Dawn of the Dead's take on consumerism. I haven't seen it in a very, very long time, so unfortunately, but I will go back and watch it and give you my opinion, but I haven't seen it in a very long time, so I couldn't really talk intelligently on it. Do
you know the song Paradise by the Dashboard Light?
No, I don't.
Oh my God. So that's from Enshay. I'll tell you, well, first, just very quickly before I forget, you have 20 seconds to comply, ED 209 and RoboCop. That is a great line. I've seen that clip.
Oh, RoboCop is so good.
Yeah, but I haven't seen the whole movie. I just saw that because it was in Matt Taibbi. We watched it for something.
Oh, I mean, we should have said that if we're actually talking about who is really capturing like the spirit of American modern day, you have to mention Verhoeven too. Like whether you're talking about Starship Troopers, was it not
Showgirls
or RoboCop? He's doing he got it too. I'm actually, I get mad because like Fox News actually like is her name Jean Pirro? That one with the waving flag behind her, that's just like a David Cronenberg bit. That looks like something like David Cronenberg would put in a movie to make fun of America.
Yeah. Paradise by the Dashboard Light is a ridiculous song by Meatloaf. The Loaf. And the only reason I know about that song was because remember he did that song, I Would Do Anything for Love.
That's the only Meatloaf song I've ever heard.
Well, that's
Rocket Hoarder.
Well, that's because that song came out in the 90s. And because of that, there was like a comeback of the song Paradise by the Dashboard Light, which is a really weird song about, it's sung from the perspective of a guy basically being pressured into marrying a woman because she won't have sex with him unless he does. And it's a big epic long, it's like, and a man and woman sing back and forth, right? It's a woman, I'm trying to remember if her perspective is there, but, no, yeah. Let me sleep on it, baby. I'll give you my answer in the morning. I got to know right. No, yeah, there's a woman's part too. So it's like, I got to know right now. Will you love me? Will you love me forever? Will you need me? Will you never leave me? Will you make me so happy for the rest of my life? Will you take me away? Will you make me your wife? I got to know right now before we go any further. Do you love me? Will you love me forever? Can't believe I remember that. And then the guy's like, let me sleep on it, baby, let me sleep on it. I'll give you the answer in the morning. Anyway. But what's really weird about it is that, like, when I was growing up, like, they would play that at bar and bat mitzvahs. And, like, the kids would be, like, the girls would be on one side of the room, the boys on the other, and they'd be, like, lip-syncing to this. And the parents were, like, you know, like, bopping around to it as if it wasn't a really inappropriate song to kind of be lip-syncing to. Definitely would not pass muster today.
That's like that bit, the Afternoon Delight bit from Arrested Development, where their father and daughter sing Afternoon Delight to each other.
What was that again?
And the father and daughter sing Afternoon Delight to one another in Arrested Development.
That's
without
really
thinking
funny.
About the world.
That's really funny.
Lyrics. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just realizing, I'm looking at the video you just mentioned, the Meatloaf thing. I'm realizing right now that Meatloaf was just like Jack Black if he took Tenacious D seriously. I think that's what the music is. Yeah.
By the way, that song, that's putting perfectly. That song, Baby It's Cold Outside. I used to think I thought it was a little offensively. I thought its rapiness was overrated, but then but Baby It's Cold Outside, that's okay. You can say that. Well, I shouldn't say this publicly but what really, the line is crossed because she thinks that her drink tastes weird. There's something in my drink. So there it is.
Yeah. She does this. Hey, what's in this drink?
Yeah, that's the weird thing, because before I was like, come on, people can be like, you know, God, I'm going to get people are going to edit this out and ruin it, turn it into like the most, they're going to accuse me.
K, the SJW, canceling a holiday classic. The war on Christmas continues.
No, I'm thinking about from the other direction. People are going to be like,
because you're kind of defending it.
Because I'm saying it's okay to say
it's okay until he drugs her. You're saying
exactly. There's a line, right? So I was like defending that song on Twitter, and then when I saw someone drew attention to that line, I was like, okay, you're right. I gotta give it.
Well, because when I heard that line, I always thought like, I mean, I guess if she is asking, she doesn't know, but I thought it was like a joke because you saw, because that was always the joke on like 90s shows, like, oh, somebody spiked the punch. So
right.
I thought when I heard that, I thought she was knowingly joking, because you would see that joke, because people would take like, you know, if alcohol is in the drink, so but they were always tell the joke like, hey, what's in this punch, and like that was the joke. So I thought that's what that was.
Yeah, I think so too. You know what? I'm gonna go back to my pro Baby It's Cold Outside stance.
Yeah, because you wouldn't taste it otherwise. Right.
And you honestly, I mean, I'm sorry, but you should at that point, you can't just keep singing back and forth. You have to say, I want to leave. Stop it. I said good day. Call me a cab. Yeah. That's my
Baby It's Cold Outside, uncanceled. You can sing.
Uncanceled, yeah. We're putting it back into the canon. I was thinking is there anything you want to pre-uncancel? Like, I want to get ahead of the tendencies. Like, who do you think is going to be canceled next? And then is there anyone who you think shouldn't be canceled and we want to preempt it?
Yeah,
like, we have to come up with a reason that canceling ABC is problematic.
Okay. Well, before we get into that, though, we should mention that we have a live show this Friday
7 p.m.
7 p.m. At
Littlefield.
Virtually. Some people were confused about
we're doing a maskless indoor.
Do not actually go to the venue. What you want to do is go to littlefieldnyc.com, or just look at KRI's social media and click the link and get your tickets. It's a $10 suggested donation. If you can't afford that, you will be able to watch the show regardless. But if you can donate, we really appreciate it. If you can buy those tickets early, we really appreciate it. Get locked in. If you can't make the show, you can still buy tickets and watch it later, just like you bought it. It'll work out perfectly. I promise you.
Sometimes it's better to watch things after. You want to save it for later.
Yeah, but we had great.
Maybe you want to get some work done as a treat. Yeah.
Yeah, if you
I don't know why I'm encouraging people to do it that way. Anyway.
Yeah, but if you saw our last live show, we had great time, great guests. And we're going to have some great guests this time. Abby Martin, Rania Kalik, Brandon from The Discourse. It's going to be, you probably know him as Chad Vigorous, a Pretty Bad Lefty. We're going to talk a little bit of horror with him.
Brandon Sutton, right?
Brandon Sutton, yeah. And it's going to be a great time. And it'll help benefit the venue as well as our charity. So, please check it out if you have time.
Oh, I really need to talk about this with you, Leslie. I can't believe we didn't talk about this. All right. Ready, Leslie?
Yeah.
You are the perfect person for me to talk about this with. Hold on. I don't know if you saw this. I got into a lot of trouble.
Okay.
So have you heard Amy Coney Barrett talk at all?
Yes, a little bit. Yes, I saw her. Maybe I'll get canceled for this, but I only saw a second of the clip. I know she's a horrible person and she should be Minecrafted. I'll say that. But she did seem very personable from the second I saw.
Yeah.
And I can see why they picked her.
Okay, so I should find a clip of her. Does anyone have a good? Oh, right. I can't.
Okay.
In the chat.
I don't know if I should say this, but they're actually talking in the chat. They're saying you're hot tonight. I don't know if.
No, that's okay. Now Brad's gonna get very angry. It's okay. It's all right. Everyone. I mean, hold on one second. Let me just. Are you seeing this? Hold on. Let me. So that's make sure you get your tickets, but. All right, Chrome tab. Hold on one second. I think I maybe have to find actual footage of her, but I just wanted you to see what happened, okay? So here I am minding my own business. Actually, let me quickly find a clip of Amy, whatever.
Fate.
What? Leslie's the best laugh. Hold on. So this is funny. I was watching. Hey
Phil, how's it going?
What's happening? Oh, let's see. Oh, what does it say?
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam. Love you, Kate, and your many great guests. Thank you. All right, the ship has sailed on which one, Katie? I'm not going to give up this story. Okay, hold on. Let me show you this thing. Hold on. God, Lindsey Graham is so scary. Hold on. Let's go down. Oh, Chuck. He's so scary too. What's his name? Ted Cruz. Let the woman speak. I just want to hear the terrible. Oh, that's not the right day. Hold on. Sorry. All right. I just need a short, known as a short clip. Here, this should be it. Day 1, part 1. All right. I mean, I can just tell you what happened before. I can just show you what happened, which was that I got very attacked in a way that's really problematic, I think. And in fact, everyone who did this should, I think, needs to write an apology to me. But I tweeted jokingly, why does Amy Coney Barrett have a faint, low-key Long Island accent? It could also be New York or New Jersey or New York, but regardless of where exactly, it's cultural appropriation, and it's not okay.
Oh, God.
CC two people. I'll tell you about in a second. And I write, she's from New Orleans. This is inexcusable. Okay. The people were so angry at me.
Oh,
and someone even was like, said something like, you really think that that's the most problematic thing about her? And I was like, yes, it's her. I'm triggered. I said, like, I'm triggered by her voice.
Oh,
and that's more important than her being anti-choice or reactionary. And they were like, oh my God. And then I stupidly like broke character for a second and was like, I was like, I can't believe you actually think I would say that. And then they're like, Katie's trying to weasel her way out of that one.
Oh, of course.
So I should have doubled down, and I should have, and the cultural appropriation references, by the way, is for someone who I thought, so my friend and I thought someone was Jewish, and it turned out he wasn't. And we were like, oh my God, my friend and I are Jewish, and the other guy isn't. We couldn't believe it, right? And then at one point he showed us a really nerdy, cute picture of himself. For some reason, I remember why it came up, in like baseball gear. Like Little League, a Little League photo. And my friend said about it, he's like, that is cultural appropriation. So I tagged these two people because that was like the joke. Not that anyone would know that, but so I got really attacked. And I actually said I was going to have someone on because apparently the accent is very interesting. It's a mix of many different accents. So I was on to something. And it's funny because someone else when it was on, someone else was like, Katie, do you hear that voice? Isn't that funny? Anyway, I'm trying to find footage of her, but because I get so frustrated by this stuff, because it should be easy to do to find a clip of what's her name. Oh, but it's not apparently.
I think I got one that maybe.
All right, thank you.
I'll post it in the private chat.
Great, thank you. All right, let's see. Oh, okay. Thanks. I didn't see that, Kelly. And so does now.
But I'll mention Katie. I asked who the funniest person on the left was on Twitter today, and you were a very popular answer.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
As we can see from those tweets, obviously. You
right.
deserve it.
Oh my God. Hold on. Let me show you this though. Okay, this is good. All right. So, okay, imagine my surprise, a native New Yorker, when I heard this. And then people, Jesus, there's so annoying. Okay.
Imagine my surprise, a native New Yorker hearing this.
Yeah. Oh, wait, did I put on the sound? Is the sound on? Or no? Could you hear Lindsey Graham?
No, I can't hear.
I forgot to do the sound, sorry. Share audio. Okay.
You got
what? Wait, we really couldn't hear you then.
With this profound
okay. You see their mic? Okay. They probably were like, she's culturally appropriating. Cut the mic.
Ranking Member Feinstein and members of the committee, I'm honored and humbled to appear before you today.
Can you hear that,
Leslie?
Yes.
The Justice of the Supreme Court.
I just don't understand it.
I thank the President for entrusting me with this profound responsibility.
So apparently,
as well as for the gracious.
So apparently, this is it's like to me, it sounds like a little nasal, and also like the accent, like it sounds slightly like this to me. But apparently, there's something called like a Yat accent, which I actually really look into, and Adolph Reed, Adolph Reed is going to come on to talk about it. But what was so funny was that people were like, you better find out what the accent is like, and you better ask a Black woman. And I was like, why though? Like, isn't that problematic for me to ask a Black woman about how, like, she's a white woman.
Yeah, she's a white woman. The X is like not necessarily like a Black accent.
Yeah, it was just, I was like,
it's just like Louisiana. It's very specific, like to certain cultures and parts of Louisiana, certain cities, certain towns.
Yeah,
like I mean, you were making a joke. It's a joke.
Well, that's the thing.
There's no sensitive, like, cultural issue here that you were broaching with the accent. And she does sound funny, and she really, to me, doesn't really sound that New Orleans to me. I'm from Louisiana. She doesn't really sound that New Orleans to me.
Wait,
she sounds
where are you
more
from?
Like,
Say that again.
I'm from
where are you from?
I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
I just want to say, someone from Louisiana said that. Yeah.
Yeah, and she sounds to me more like upstate New York, personally.
Yeah.
But I don't know. She doesn't really. I don't know why people actually tried to give you like serious.
I know, it was really
because
funny.
First of all, who gives a crap? Like, she's a monster. Like,
I
she's
know.
like a vampire that's just been appointed, to the Blood Council. Like, why do we care if we're mean to her accent? What is wrong with people? Why would you ever even care about a joke about that? Someone asked me what Minecraft it is. So the thing is, you can, as long as you're doing a parody or making a joke or saying that someone should get, I don't know, shot in Minecraft or in a fictional world or in a video game or just in a parody, a satire, and this has been established by legal precedent, you can't get in trouble for it, basically. So people say in Minecraft or in parody or in a video game or in a movie, and some XYZ should happen to somebody. Now, this probably won't protect you from getting banned from Twitter or whatever, but at least it will probably save you a trip from the FBI. So that's your tip. Well, or if they come for you, you will have a legal defense.
Got it. If they come for you, okay. They're coming for you. That was like the best line in the entire vice presidential debate from Kamala. Remember that? Or did you probably? I mean, it was a very stupid debate. Do you remember that, Leslie?
No, I didn't watch it.
Okay, right. I don't know if you saw a clip of it. It was like, if you have cancer, you have this, they're coming for you. Your parents, they're older, they're coming for you. That was like the best line the entire night.
Oh, it sounds really exciting.
Yeah, it was so bad. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna have on. Adolph Reed heard about the controversy, so he may come on to talk about it. But I did think it was funny.
As someone is trying to tell me how to say the name of my hometown for some reason.
Oh, wow. Well, someone said something rude about me and Amy Coney Barrett, and I won't read it unless they make it a super chat of $20.
But Bill, who's been very nice, he has some very nice questions. Katie, do you still do stand up? Or before COVID, did you stand up? And who's your favorite comic? And what do you think of Norm Macdonald?
Oh yeah, I'm just looking for that so I can highlight it. Do you still do stand up, or did you before COVID? I haven't done stand up in a really long time. I don't know. I mean, I don't know Norm Macdonald that well. He was funny on SNL, I guess. He has a bit of an energy that I don't know. Is he like angry white dude energy a little bit? Like railing against PCism, or
kinda like he's kind of been back and forth. I think he's sadly shifted more to the right in recent years. I don't mean right necessarily as like politically, more like culturally, as stance wise. It's with convenience. It's weird because like they can have these very, like, even Dave Chappelle has, the very, we're not gonna, the free speech and yada, yada, yada. So even if they're not like trying to vote for Trump or anything like that, right? Like, and he kind of has gone further down that path. But for a while, he was posting some like really stuff that was just critical of like both parties from a way that was from the left, like just the basics of like not the parties not taking care of people and stuff. He is a very unique guy. He's not like, so many of these comedians have been horrible disappointments, but I compare him to like a Bill Burr, who can sometimes be on the good right side of things, and actually someone I hope we could fully win over because they actually do genuinely care about people, from what I've seen.
Well, yeah. Leslie's cancel lines are they're so I can never predict you. One of my favorite comedians is James Adomian, who I think is very, very funny. I love his Bernie impersonation. I love all of his impersonations because they're so smart, because they're not just like the mimicry, but he gets inside their heads. Who else do I like?
Have you the number one answer I should mention was a guy named Connor O'Malley, which you may know from two different things. Have you seen I Think You Should Leave on Netflix?
No.
Katie, you have to watch I Think You Should Leave.
Right.
It is like one of the best sketch comedy shows of all time. It's so good. But he is on that in the something that will be very memorable. We'll talk about it later.
Okay, yeah.
He's also the guy who posts all the really bizarre videos to like Howard Schultz. You might have seen go viral, where he'll be like bloody and covered in makeup and like screaming to see Howard Schultz. I feel like he actually scared him into dropping out of the race, which is one of the most noble things any comedian has ever done. So he was hands down probably the number one answer. Number two, of course, Felix Biederman. I don't know. You already know he is. He's a very, I mean, just such a brilliant mind for comedy and really humor, and always being like super, super funny.
Birdman says, Katie, tell Adolph Reed I'm his love child. Bill says, Norm is apolitical, not left or right. Check out his moth goes into a podiatrist's office joke from Conan O'Brien show on YouTube. Okay, I'll do that. Who else is great comedy wise? I feel like I'm drawing a blank. I gotta watch more Lenny Bruce. Oh, what's the song and performance that wraps up Useful Idiots? This is so embarrassing. I keep telling them to put it into the credits. Hold on one second.
Well, here's the thing. If you put it in the show notes, you'll still get asked that question, because I always put the song in the show notes. And
and you guys change your song every time, right?
Yeah, we have put a new song every time.
Hold on. If you know what it is? It's a band that sang with Larry Krasner. Sheer Mag. Now I'll never forget. Sheer Mag. SHEER Mag. We got to put them in the stuff. I think they're not on Twitter. What?
Somebody said Louis C.K. is funny. Well, two problems with that. I'll handle the small one first. Louis C.K., for people who don't know, before he got canceled, he was a big Hillary guy. He was a big.
Oh, he compared to like flying the plane.
The plane clip and like in a really corny way too for him. Like it actually seemed like off-brand what a corny Hillary guy he was for being like the dick joke comic, you know. And of course, the second problem is that Louis C.K. is not on the left because he is abusive. But hey, he has been welcomed back into the like comedy community. Like Michelle Wolf was hanging out with him at the Chappelle thing. Did people know about this? That like Dave Chappelle was my spouse called it a movable feast. They were flying in all these rich people to his like farm in Ohio during COVID. He was flying all these rich people in to put on shows and stuff. Like all these famous celebrities, you can see the posts on Instagram. Like they would post like all this stuff, like these secret little events that they were having, until they stopped because people started catching it. Like it was, and they were like, most of the time they weren't having masks. They'd be like, oh yeah, we test people when they come in, when they leave, yada yada yada. But like they really thought they could just like subvert this with their little Comedy Central money, and it didn't work out.
So they're having super spreader events, basically, is what you're telling me.
I mean, I'm sure they were more careful than like Sturgis, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know, do Zoom. Everybody else is doing Zoom. Right. You can't do Zoom, Dave. Is that what you're saying? Like even like when it first early on, he would just like go to a parking lot and stand in the back of a truck in like a place where people aren't traveling across the country to get there, which may even you could do that, right? Like I'm sure you could do that in a semi-safe way. You can have events, but I don't know why they need to have this event that way with all these people, all these like dozens of celebrities, coming in from across the country with their crews and stuff. They're gonna bring their friends and their pals, and then they were selling tickets to the public. Like it had to end up being a disaster.
Wow. Well, this was really great, Leslie. Any final thoughts from you?
Yes, just please support the live show, but get your tickets right now if you can. LittleFieldNYC.com. There will be you can. That way you can get into Zoom chat, watch the show. But if you can't afford it, of course, you can. We'll be broadcasting it on YouTube, and there'll be a VOD available after the fact. We have some great guests. Abby Martin of the Empire Files. We're going to be talking about some foreign policy stuff with her because nobody else is this election, as well as Rania Khalek of the Soapbox. Great viral video creator who you've seen on Katie's show many times before.
Yeah.
As
and you
well,
and her were together on the show.
Yeah.
On my show, yeah.
Yeah, as well as Brandon Sutton, who is just one of the smartest people I know. We're going to talk a little bit about culture, and we still may be adding one or two more special guests. For people who saw the last show, we added a huge guest, Michelle Forbes, pretty much the day before of, Star Trek The Next Generation, Battlestar Galactica, Berlin Station, all these amazing things, and the interview was really fantastic. So we're really trying to put on a similar quality show for you. So please, if you can, buy those tickets. Suggested donation $10. Some of your funds will be going to charity as well as the venue. So just check us out. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah. And the last comment, which I'm going to have to respond to, I think, on the next episode, is from Sparky. Katie, when you have Alex Jones on, which would be fun, scold him for stereotyping. He thought KKK he protested were fake because of their ethnic appearance, but the Confederacy Secretary of State was Jewish. I didn't know that, but you got it. I need documentation because you were wrong about the Bolivia thing. It was not Bolivia. So I got to know about that. That's well, no, but he was making stereotypical comments about their appearance. I think I just showed that when James was on, but I'll go over all of that with Alex. But yeah, and Leslie, where can people find you online?
You can find me, at least my show, Struggle Session, at sesh.plus. That's our new URL, like SESH.plus, like
sesh.plus. I like that.
Sesh.plus, like Struggle Session, sesh. You got the plus because you're getting the premium stuff there. Check it out.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
You're
gonna have to get Katie.plus.
I know.
Katie.plus.
Yeah. KTHelps.plus. Yeah. Wow. Judah Philip Benjamin. Another. All right. Yeah. So come back on Sunday night. Danny Haifong will be on talking about China. Oh, look at Phil. Leslie is also genius of all media as well as life in general.
Oh, thanks, Phil.
I mean, Phil, you kind of said that. I don't want to get you upset, Leslie. Who's the person you really would not want to hear him have said that about? In a competitive way.
In a competitive way?
Personal.
Oh, I don't have Jack.
Yes. Phil, I'm just calling you out on that one.
Well, he likes us both. I'm not competitive with Jack, thankfully.
All right.
We're just partners. We're pals.
Yeah, I know. Judah Friedlander also is Lumpia Logic's, I guess, favorite comedian. Judah Friedlander does have a hilarious bit about how he's half Jewish, but his mom isn't Jewish. And if you're religious, the mom is the only one that counts. So, and he says, people are so critical of you when they find out you're only half Jewish and your mom isn't Jewish. And he says, it's like they treat you like you killed their dog or something. But, I went to the Holocaust Museum and I saw that for the Nazis, being Jewish required having one Jewish grandparent. So in some ways, Hitler's more accepting of Jews than other Jews are.
That's wild.
It's pretty funny.
That's wild.
Yeah. And that is a big part of Jewish identity, in my opinion, honestly, is I think that's what shapes a lot of Jewish identity. I don't mean that in a critical, that shapes a lot of mine. Like, I don't experience anti-Semitism, but it shaped like the generations. Yeah. So we got to figure that one out. But if you're Jewish enough for Hitler, in my book,
you're Jewish.
Yeah. Okay. I will see you guys on Sunday, but I'll see you before that Friday night. I wonder if I should do a drinking game tomorrow. Matt can't do it. You guys should all harass Matt on Twitter and tease him for not doing it. But I can just reuse. I'll just use his game, and apply it. Should I try to do a drinking game tomorrow, Leslie? What do you think? I know you don't drink.
No. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. All right. And I'm sorry, Phil. I was just kidding. I was just teasing you. Matt can't do a drinking game. So, yeah. I'll just check the Twitter, check the tweets. Katie, I have another Katie show related to check it out, but don't come after. I don't know what that means. Okay. So, I know, Matt. I wonder if we could shame him into it. Do you think we could on Twitter? Should I tweet it? No, he'll be so mad at me. I can't do that, right?
So just don't tweet it. Everybody, I mean, you have 500 people watching now. Just tell them right now to go bully him. But don't, nobody snitch.
Don't snitch, guys. Yeah. Be like, hi, I'm tweeting this on my own behalf.
Yeah, just say, I'm very excited to see you play the drinking game tomorrow. It'll be really fun.
Oh, and then I'll have to be like, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, we have to respect Matt's boundaries. I know, it is the last one. Well, I'll let you know. I'll be tweeting it out and Facebooking it and all that. Yeah, we do need to do a shroom show. The debate is tomorrow night.
Wonderful. I remember, Katie, when we first planned to do our live show on Friday, I know we all assumed that Trump would be dead.
Oh, yeah.
We were like, October 23rd. Oh, he's going to be, because we booked it when he had COVID. We were like, oh, that's going to be a fun show to do.
Yeah, it would have been really fun.
Oh, too bad.
Jack was so funny. He's like, I got banned from Twitter. I'm like, why? And he's like, because I said I hope Trump dies.
Yeah. Well, so many people prayed for him. He recovered. Hope you're happy.
I know. I wonder if it was the Rachel Maddow prayers.
Oh. R.M. Brown asks, Katie, do you do karaoke?
I do. Oh, Leslie knows because we've done it together at my live shows. Used to have karaoke.
We did.
Yeah, and your song was do 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 do.
Yeah, I Miss You by the Rolling Stones.
By Rolling Stones. And I have a bunch of different songs, but I like oddly enough, I really like Summer of '69, and then I really like Alone. But I have to be very tipsy to sing Alone because you really have to belt it. It's the Heart song. Yeah, by heart.
By heart. Okay.
Till now, I always got by on my own. I never really cared until I met you. But now it chills me to the bone. How can I get you alone? It's really good.
Oh, yeah. How can I get you? Yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
Also, Time After Time is good. Thank you, Peter and McLaughlin. Yeah.
God, when we were at karaoke, we got to see Abby, who will be on our show this Friday, LilFieldNYC.com. She sung...
Sabotage by the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, and I think maybe Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine, or a Rage song. It was fun.
A Rage song, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Pizza. I miss karaoke too, yeah. Are you an individual room karaoke person or public karaoke person?
Oh, individual room is so funny. It's so much more fun. It's so much. Well, that's how they do it in Japan. They invented it, and it's so much more fun. But you can get a big room with a bunch of people. It's just that you get to sing more often, and you're hanging out with your friends. It's so much more fun to get have a group of five or six friends than like an open bar with a bunch of strangers. And just some random girl comes up and sings like an Adele song, and you're just like checking your phone and you don't care. Like that's not the vibe when you're in the private room. It's like everybody is there and focused and having a good time. When it's the bar, it's like you don't give a shit about any of these people in there.
I know, but it doesn't have the performative aspect, which is what I really like.
It does limit the performance aspect.
Yeah, it's like fun hanging. It's not art. It's not art. Yeah, I do love karaoke. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, Leslie, thank you so much. I'm gonna start doing this. A lot of leftists do this. Have you noticed that?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Gerald Horn, who's awesome, does that. You know the historian?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, we can't shake hands anymore, so.
All right. Well, this is over Zoom anyway, but I guess it's a habit. Yeah. All right. I will see you guys all maybe tomorrow. There maybe will be a drinking game, and if not, though, I will see you Friday and then Sunday. Good night, everyone. Oh, and become Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Again, Patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye. All right, and broadcast.